Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome. This is the first episode of the Down the Line podcast, where me and my boy Ethan right here, we're talking everything baseball here. Listen, Ethan, it took a long time, but it's finally made it out the group chat. We finally beat the allegations. We're here.
I
We're here for
mean,
real.
yeah, for those who were unaware, starting a podcast was something that I've said on and off with different people, but mainly Mr. Nicholas over here. We've been saying this for I want to say like 5 or 6 years. Like, hey, we should do a podcast, but
Dude, I
we're
remember. Dude,
finally here.
we've been saying it. I think we even like workshopped some stuff for one that
We
we got
did,
a little.
but
We
we're
got we got like we got a step or two towards it. Like I don't know, like 2-3 years ago, something like that. And we actually like workshopped. I think we even
yeah,
had like a name for something, and then we just didn't do anything.
yeah, but we finally
But it
we
doesn't matter.
finally made
It's
it.
made it out the group chat.
Yep.
Um, so I'll introduce myself. My name's Nick. Um, from Toronto, obviously. So obviously, I'm a Jays fan. I'm gonna try to not be biased towards them at any point during the shows, but I can't promise anything that isn't gonna be inherent. I've been watching baseball since I was little. My guy Joey Bats, that was the one who made me fall in love with the game. I've been following it ever since, trying to cover it. So, Ethan, tell us about yourself really quick.
So, as you heard, my name's Ethan. Also from Toronto, big Jays fan. Um, I mean, I've been watching and going to games since before I could even remember. The guy for me that kind of got me to fall in love with the sport, I'd have to say Roy Halladay. Watching him pitch Friday nights, winning the Baby Blues, just an unforgettable experience.
That's valid. That's a valid one right there. May he rest in peace. So we got an episode today. So July 24th is 5 p.m. right now. The trade deadline is in a week. It's July 31st. I don't remember what time of the day the deadline is, but we're starting to hear rumors. So and so's talking to this team and whatever, right? So we're starting to get there.
Yep.
So I think a good place to start is we'll look at some of the guys who we're thinking, buyers, sellers. We'll maybe say some teams that maybe just decided buying, or maybe you could go one way or the other. Some teams that are a little more interesting than a clear-cut buyer or seller. I want to start with this team. We're going to start in the National League. I want to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals really quick. They're only a game over 500. They've been on a little skid recently. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They're only 3.5 out of a playoff spot, though, which is not very much to make up. I don't know how you feel about this team, Ethan. If you feel any type of way about this team. I personally know how I feel about this team. I was on another friend's podcast about, I want to say a week or two ago, give or take, like a week ago, give or take. And we brought up the Cardinals, and I'll be honest with you, Cardinals fans, I mean no disrespect, I don't believe in your team. I don't believe in your team, even if they buy. I don't really think that the team's that great. I think they're pretty mid, but what are you saying about it? What are the vibes around the Cardinals for you, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're close enough to a playoff spot to the point where I'm sure the fans would like to see some additions to hopefully bring a playoff push and postseason baseball into St. Louis. But I feel like for the future of the team and the trajectory of this team, it might be better to kind of sell off a bit and work towards the future. I mean, you got some very good prospects. This is a team that's looking that like they can compete in the next 5 years or so. I definitely think that if they're able to get some assets to kind of expedite that rebuild and kind of make them even better within the next 3 years, even, then I feel like you kind of have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Um, and I mean, we've heard some of their guys even talked about in like trade rumors and stuff. There was a tweet from Underdog MLB, so he took a Bob Nightingale. I'm not sure if it was a report, if he was on a podcast or whatever it was. They're talking about, apparently there's like a lot of contenders that are asking about Ryan Helsley, and obviously people have, even in the offseason, people were saying different things about Arenado, where he might go. People thought he might go to Boston, and then obviously they got Bregman. People are still kind of workshopping Arenado trades. I don't think we've heard as much about that around the deadline, but it could happen. People are still throwing, oh, what about this team, and whatever. It's a team that I think could go either way. I would probably lean in the sell direction, just because I'll be totally honest. Again, no diss, but I don't really think the team's that great.
Nah.
A team that I think is a lot more fun and I really want them to buy. I was on my friend's talk about. We were talking about this. The Reds. I think the Reds would be so fun if they bought,
Oh yeah,
because one of the things with them, right? They have a lot of young talent. They have a lot of guys on that infield, right? They have
yeah,
Ellie De La Cruz. They have Spencer Steer, Matt McClain, who albeit hasn't been as great this season. Christian Encarnacion-Strand. They have guys there, right? They have a few guys in the outfield and such, but one of the things that I'm thinking about this team, right? If I'm looking at Cincinnati, I don't really think the rotation's that great. I think they could be in on some starting pitchers, and while there isn't any top tier starting talent available at the deadline, there's some guys that there's some pretty good pitchers. Obviously, there's like Lugo and Merrill Kelly. Those are, I think, the headliners. Barring like a Joe Ryan isn't available, but I don't think he's going to get moved. But that's a team that could be really fun if they bought. I would love to see them buy, because I kind of want to see the Reds in the playoffs.
yeah. I mean, Andrew Abbott's been having a great year. Nick Lodolo's been good. Like, they have some starting pitching, obviously, already. They don't need necessarily an ace, and I'm going to assume that Hunter Green's going to be back somewhat soon. And they're definitely okay pitching. They don't need to get, like, a legitimate ace. So, because very young rotation. And obviously Chase Burns, who this year isn't, off to the best start, but we know what he can be. And a name that I've heard a lot thrown out that there's mutual interest for the Reds is Suarez.
I heard that. I was actually just about to bring that up, because that was a little interesting thing, because it seemed like they kind of have a crowded infield, but if they get Suarez, man, bring him back to Cincinnati in the midst of this amazing year, that would be fire. That would be kind of gas. That would be a fun one. I would love to see them buy. I think it's more so for them if they're going to go for starters. Like you said, like their top end guys are really good. Andrew Abbott's ridiculous, but maybe like depth starters. That's the thing. I think they need to short up, because I do think that their front end is okay, but I think it's their depth starters that they can maybe use a little bit of a help on. And then obviously you can never really go too wrong with bullpen, and in their case they're hovering around a mid-tier bullpen. They're 13th in bullpen ERA over the season, so some upgrades there wouldn't hurt. Although there have been some names been thrown out on the trade market. I'm not necessarily connecting any of them to the Reds specifically, but Kyle Finnegan recently was made available by the Nationals. People were talking about Felix Bautista. Felix Bautista just went on the IL, actually. So I want to, before we go on to our next team, I want to say, how much do we think Felix Bautista going on the IL is going to potentially affect his trade value? So it's a right shoulder discomfort. That's what he's going on the IL for. But the thing is, with Bautista compared to some other guys, right? Bautista is not a rental. He has a couple more years of team control under his belt, and he's just about to become arbitration eligible. As of right now, he has just about 3 years service time under his belt. I don't really think this will affect it too much, because if you're trading for Bautista over here, you're going to get a few more years, barring that it's not a significant injury. But we'll see. We'll see what it is. What do you think?
I mean, what I think is that the Orioles obviously underperforming this year, but they're a young team, and we saw what they did the past 2 years, and I'm sure that internally they think that they're going to be back there next year. They're not going to be continuing this, 10, 15 games under 500 by the break. I think that Felix, I don't really think he will get traded, but if he does, I think a team like the Phillies could really be in play, because they've been trying to figure out their bullpen, and they're like a big name in the relief pitching market right now. And I think if they could get a guy like that will set them up for years, I feel like they can go for it. They've got a very strong system. They have guys they can trade. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, they just signed David Robertson a few days ago. Or it might have even been yesterday, I'm not exactly sure, but they just signed David Robertson, which is a little bit of an interesting thing. Obviously, he's been one of the best relievers in ball over the past few years, and he actually just signed a contract in June. I'm gonna assume he just didn't want to sign in December, because I remember going into the season being like, he's a free agent. What the hell? So on that note, we'll talk about the Phillies now. They're currently in the second wildcard spot. They're kind of going a little bit back and forth right now for the division with the Mets. They're half a game back of them right now. Again, you just said that this team needs bullpen help. That is not really a secret for anyone. That
Right.
bullpen has been... It's been rough. It's been rough out there over in Philly. They rank 22nd in bullpen ERA. And when you look at some of the relievers, like... It's a struggle. Jordan Romano, man, he... Obviously, that's our guy. That's our guy from Toronto,
Yeah,
but...
that sucks to
It's
see.
been kind of tough, and they had Alvarado go on the or he got suspended. I was gonna say IL, but no, he got suspended, and he was kind of their best reliever. They've had
Yeah,
some unsung heroes here and there, but obviously like Matt Strom has been like their guy through and through. But they have a lot of guys who they pitch some innings and they haven't been great. Joe Ross hasn't been great. Obviously, I just said Joe Romano's been pretty bad for them. Carlos Hernandez is not all that. Isn't doing all that. But yeah, they can definitely use some bullpen help. We'll even see how much David Robertson actually makes an impact. I'm interested to see how coming in mid-season from the free agent market's going to affect his value. That'll be an interesting thing to look at. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're linked to names like Kyle Finnegan or Orioles have Gregory Soto as well. It's funny, we were just talking about them. Andrew Chafin, whoever, right? He's on the Nationals, so...
what about a guy like Class A? What are your thoughts on him getting traded? I've heard
Ooh.
that's a name that could be
So, actually, I saw
talked about.
today the Cubs were interested in him, but I've also seen that they probably want to keep him. Like, they plan on
Yeah,
keeping it. It's probably one of those things where they don't intend on selling or whatever this guy, but they're going to listen to offers. If they get blown away, they'll pull the trigger, but... obviously, Class A. He had a bad start to the year, but he's bounced back and he's looking like Emmanuel Class A again.
yeah,
So that's some pretty decent value, especially since I think he has another year or two left of control under his belt. I'm not sure exactly how much control he has left. I know he's not expiring. I think he might even have like another year left. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see. So we're gonna go to our next team over the NL, the Giants. The Giants right now. You know what the Giants need? They need literally anybody who can hit a baseball, because this team, oh my god, their offense is bad, man. Their pitching staff is one of the best in the league. They are, I think they have a top 10 ERA by starting pitchers, or they're like just around there. So like their rotation's good.
yeah,
Barring the 40-something-year-old man. Sorry, they're 11th in rotation ERA. They're a couple points behind the Rays in that mark. Barring the man who finally got his first win as a Giant, who has not been pitching very well this year, but you get to the playoffs, rotation gets shortened, he probably goes into a relief role anyways. He's probably not starting at that point. I feel good about their rotation. Their bullpen has been kind of ridiculous. They rank second in baseball in bullpen ERA. So it really comes down to their offense, because do you want to guess where they rank in WRC Plus right now for the year?
Well, I'm gonna probably guess somewhere around like 20 or 25 range if I have to guess.
They're
Probably I'm gonna say 24.
22nd. You're close. So 22nd. That offense needs some upgrades.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously they got Rafael Devers what was it, like a little over a month ago at this point. He hasn't been hitting
yeah,
super crazy as a Giant, but that's something you expect will come around. Outside of that, your second best hitter is like Matt Chapman, who, all due respect, he's good. He's actually good. He has a OPS just under 800. But they need some offense. Like, Mike Yastrzemski is looking like one of the better hitters on this team right now, and his OPS is 700 on the dot. Obviously, they have guys like Heliot Ramos, but they need a guy. I don't think it would be Suarez, because you're obviously not moving Chapman off of third. But I think they could definitely hop in on... they could definitely hop in on some bats, whoever would be available. And for their sake, they kind of need it. I think that one's kind of clear cut, I think.
yeah.
I'm going to hop into another team. This team is holding the third wildcard spot in the National League. But they're a lot more interesting because obviously they're buyers, but they've also talked about trading some guys who are currently on their roster. So, the Padres. Obviously, this is a team that wants to compete right now. They have their guys, but they're a little interesting. So, we have been getting some rumors that they've been talking to teams about Dylan Cease, which is,
Yes, I've heard that
that
too.
is an interesting one. I've heard that however many contenders have inquired about him, and they could definitely use some outfield help. A name that's been linked to them a lot has been Jarren Duran of the Red Sox, or really whoever of that outfield bunch gets moved. It'll probably, if I was the Red Sox, I would probably end up going Duran just because I wouldn't want to trade Abreu or whoever else. Cease is an interesting case because he's sort of in a little bit of a down year. His ERA is almost 4.6. It's 4.59. But the thing is, you look at a few of his peripherals, right? He's still getting a good amount of strikeouts. He's striking out almost 11.5 batters per nine. He's not walking too many guys. Home runs are up a little bit, but it's still not that concerning. This is, if I was any contender looking for a starter, I would be all over Dylan Cease. But it seems like the Padres are listening in on what they might get for Cease. They do also have some interest in, we're hearing Sandy Alcantara, Charlie Morton, and such, but it's interesting to hear what they might do with Dylan Cease. Apparently, the Yankees, Mets, Cubs, and Red Sox have checked in to see what's up with Dylan Cease. So, what do you think about this team in general? You can go Cease, anything in general. What are we thinking on this?
Obviously, they've got some very high-end talent. I mean, Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they have some really good players on this team, and their pitching is good even if they were to get rid of Cease. I'm not saying that it would be the smartest decision. We've heard the Padres every year. It comes out like, oh, they're trying to move this guy to clear money. They're trying to move that guy. We saw that with the Soto trade, them getting rid of Soto. That was a great trade by them, honestly, from what they got back. But Michael King, when he's back, that's going to be a huge addition to that rotation. And honestly, that could even allow you to move Cease, especially because if you want to focus on extending one of them in the offseason, I honestly would say that Michael, if you want to go the Michael King route and re-sign him and trade Cease while his value is where it's at. I mean, it's not going to get higher than now because he's a free agent. So I think that they really could move on from him if they get the right offer. They're good enough to the point where I feel like they're not going to need an absolute haul to be like a playoff team and to have hopes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're in a position where they can shed a contract like that if that's what they see fit.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with them. I know people have thrown around the Jarren Duran thing. I hate the fact that Cease kind of seems like he fits like a glove in Boston. That kills me as a Toronto fan to say because I don't like him in my division unless he's on my team. But it kind of works, and we'll see if it ends up happening. That's obviously like they're listening. They aren't saying they're shopping him around or they're trying to trade him or whatever. Very well, decent chance he's still a Padre by the deadline. He's pitching for them down the stretch. Who knows? All right, we're gonna go on to another team. We are going to go into the top wildcard holder in the NL, the Chicago Cubs. This team is ridiculous. So I think they were a pretty easy pick coming into the season of like, okay, what team that missed the playoffs last year is going to make it this year? I think the Cubs were a pretty easy pick because they won, I think, like 83 games last year. They got Kyle Tucker. They got Ryan Presley. Obviously, I don't think anyone foresaw Pete Crow Armstrong being this good. Like MVP caliber good. I don't think anyone saw
they
this.
came out like bandits on that trade.
Dude. Man, anytime.
I mean, wow.
Listen, Nick, if you're listening, man, what are you saying? What are you saying on that? I'm not going to let him hear the end of that. But yeah, obviously I don't think anyone expected him to be this good. Like, the guy's probably going to finish with like 7.5 WAR at least, probably something like that. That's kind of insane.
I mean, he's close to 6 already,
He's sitting according to Fangraphs. He's 5.5 right now, so he's probably gonna cruise to 7. So Man, this team's good, and they have a lot of unsung heroes as well. People who are obviously doing really good, but they aren't getting the spotlight like a PCA or a Tucker are. Nico Horner's been really good. Dansby Swanson is routinely one of the, I think, most underappreciated players in the league. He is a good enough hitter. He's about an average hitter, but he is also a spectacular defensive shortstop. He hasn't been quite as great this season, but even so, he's still been a positive value there. So, good defense at shortstop, good enough offense. You take that. Michael Bush, man, he's been one of the best hitters in baseball. He should have gotten the All-Star game, by the way. That was a travesty that he didn't make it.
He has been unbelievable.
He's been like one of like the 10 best hitters in baseball minimum. If you're being a little disrespectful to him, he's like the 10th best hitter in baseball right now. But he's ranked 7th right now in WRC+. That infield right now is ridiculous. But they do have a little bit of a hole. One hole there is third base. Obviously, there's a really good third baseman on the market right now. I mean, we talked about him. The Reds asked about Suarez. I think he fits like a glove in Chicago. There's a few teams I think he fits like a glove in, but I think Chicago is especially one of those teams. Also, if I'm the Cubs, I am probably looking at some starting pitching because the Chicago Cubs overall, they rank 13th in ERA as a team, but specifically for their rotation, they're around, again, same spot, 13th. So they could use a starting pitching upgrade there. Obviously, they have some guys like Shoto Imanaga, but they could definitely use a bit of an upgrade there, especially if they want to go deep in. They're around 10th in bullpen ERA, so you could use a reliever if you need, but I don't really think it's as urgent of a need. I'd be going for a starting pitcher, maybe third baseman, i.e. Suarez if I'm them. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking on the Cubs? If you're the Cubs, what are you doing?
Well, first of all, as of about 2.5 hours ago, I'm seeing on The Athletic that Ken Rosenthal said the Diamondbacks plan to be sellers.
Mm-hmm.
The extent is still not known. We don't know exactly what they're going to trade off, but hearing that, you got to assume that Suarez is as good as gone with the price he's going to be. Zach Gallen probably gets moved. And if you want to get
expirings, probably, right? Like them to
yes,
Naylor and
yes.
Kelly.
If you want to go, and by you, I mean not necessarily the Cubs, but we're talking about the Cubs. If you want to go for a guy like Suarez, I mean, you could also get a guy like, I don't know, Shelby Miller or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. You could be getting a solid reliever, a solid pitcher, not necessarily a guy that's going to turn heads and strike, immediate fear into guys like a Emmanuel Clase or a Felix Bautista, but a guy who will get the job done, eat innings. They already have some very good relievers who are having amazing seasons. So just adding to that depth can be huge.
No, that's
I mean,
right.
we're seeing good seasons from guys who I personally didn't expect to have anything in the tank, like Chris Flexen, for example. Drew Pomeranz at this day and age. I mean, he's still, Unk still got it, if you will. I mean, Ryan Brazier.
Drew Pomeranz, man. Oh my.
I mean, they're pumping out some good relief pitchers right now. I mean, This is a very good bullpen, and with how good it's been, I don't think you need to, trade an arm and a leg to get one of the elite closers on the market. I think that you'll be fine with just getting some more depth, injury protection, and guys who come postseason you can rely on to pitch some big innings, not necessarily, a game 7, 9th inning, but maybe like, in the middle games when you're coming off a game where you use your 2 best relievers, you can throw a guy in there and be like, all right, we want you to give us a nice inning here. Don't give up too much. Save the rest of the bullpen.
Yeah, that's how I would think about their overall pitching staff overall going into the deadline. Because they have a good enough rotation. They have a good enough bullpen. I don't really think they need to go for a bullpen arm. If it's that, it's depth.
No.
With their starting rotation, obviously your front-end guys, Shoto Managa and Matt Boyd, have been ridiculous. I don't think I mentioned Matt Boyd when I went over them the first time, but I should have, because they are both ridiculous. And like you said, even like Chris Flexen he's not starting, but he's out of the bullpen. He's having a good year. But if I'm them, if I am the Chicago Cubs, I'm looking for probably like 3, 4, 5 starters. I'm not necessarily needing to go get a number 1. And like you said, I'm not trying to give up an arm and a leg for whoever might be available, right? So that's...
I mean, if Suarez is who they're all in on, then a guy that I'm looking at from the same team is Merrill Kelly in a trade like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now we're going to go into the division leaders in the NL. We're going to start with the New York Mets. I don't think this team has as glaring of a weakness, because I mean, you look at their infield, right? Obviously, Jeff McNeil has been kind of having a little bit of a something recently. Something, maybe he's back. I don't know. But obviously, they have guys like Pete Alonso's having a ridiculous year. Lindor's having a ridiculous year. I don't really think that they're going to be quite as in on infield. Again, third base has kind of been a bit of a struggle for them because Ronnie Mauricio hasn't been that great. Mark Vientos, has just been not good at all this year. Brett Beatty has actually been okay, so if they don't want to go for an infield, they can stick with him. But for them, they have a little bit of an interesting situation, and for them, it's a little more niche, right? So in the offseason, they went out and they grabbed AJ Minter. Historically, has been really good reliever pretty much every year of his career. However, here is the thing: he underwent surgery in May, so they need some lefties out there. Obviously, there are some lefties available on the market. Probably looking at a Kyle Finnegan, looking at a Gregory Soto maybe. Those are a few names that I think would fit pretty well on this team. So that's where I would sit on them. The rotation has been pretty solid. Obviously, you have Clay Holmes. He's been having a good year. That was a really weird thing they did in the offseason, by the way, but it's working. I wasn't really expecting it to work as well as it has, converting him to a starter. And David Peterson has also been great this year. You have Kodai Senga, who has been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hasn't pitched quite as many innings, but there was a little bit of an injury for him. But he's been really good. Again, if they go for rotation, I think it would be depth stuff. I'm probably looking to shore up my bullpen if I am the Mets, because of course, outfield you're not going for. You have Juan Soto. Brandon Nimmo's been having a really good year. He's low-key slugging a bit this year. He might, if he hits another hot streak in August, September, he might crack 30 home runs or come close to it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously Starling Marte is good enough, 751 OPS. I don't really think they need to go after any of the position players. I'm probably looking to shore up the pen, if anything. That's where I sit if I'm the Mets. So I'm looking at some of those guys. What's your take right here?
I mean, the Mets are definitely looking for pitching in general. I've heard two names that they've inquired about are Mitch Keller and Dylan Cease. Obviously, those are both starters. A very interesting name to me is honestly Trevor Rogers, because he was obviously off to a pretty bad start. I think he had an ERA above, I want to say it was 7-something in his first couple starts. He got sent down. This was earlier. And since he returned, he has an ERA below 2 in 7 starts. And, he's looking like that's what they got him for. This is the player that they acquired. He's arbitration eligible for another year, so it's not a complete rental. But with how the Orioles are doing and what their team looks like, I think that's a guy that we can see get traded, and I think that's a guy the Mets should be all over.
Yeah, if I'm them, that works totally, right? Because you're right. He's been ridiculous, Trevor Rogers, man. That boy's his ERA is sub 2, man. It's crazy. Yeah, that would be kind of an insane ad for them, especially if he keeps pitching really good like he has been. Whew.
You just hope that you get the post AAA and post injury Trevor Rogers rather than the one that we saw in April where he struggled. But I definitely think Trevor Rogers is a good pitcher. I don't think we can expect him to just be a 7 ERA pitcher for a whole season. That's just not practical.
Yeah, no, of course not. Obviously, 7 ERA is kind of insane, right? He even had a year a few years ago where he started almost 20, 25 games or so. It was 3 years ago, something like that, 4 years ago. And he pitched about 130 innings or so. And you remember he was really good with the Marlins right then. He had his ERA was sub 3. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was damn nice. So he's shown that he can do that. He's shown that this isn't just some random half-season thing and then you trade for him and then he's really bad.
Last season, I think should definitely be taken with a grain of salt. But since coming back from his minor league. I think he played. I think he had some time there earlier this year to kind of rehab it and his injury and come back this year very strong. I think that's a very good addition for a team that's looking to add
Mm-hmm.
pitching, primarily lefty, obviously. And I think that the Mets, that's a guy that the Mets could really use.
Mm-hmm. He'd be a nice add on that squad. All right, we're gonna go to the next team in the National League, the second best record in the NL. They're leading the NL West right now. They've been on a little bit of a skid recently. They've lost 6 of their last 10. Had a couple, had a little rough stretch right before the All Star break as well. But we're going to the Dodgers right now. I don't even know what to say about this team, because their pitching staff, like low key as a whole, has not really performed all that well this season. Now, granted, there have been injuries here or there. You have Blake Snell on the IL. Sasaki hasn't been too great, but then obviously I think he was on the IL for a little bit as well. But
But they basically have a rotation itself on the IL.
yeah, that's the thing is you can trade for whoever. I'm pretty sure they were one of the teams that called about Dylan Cease, I think, if I remember right. But their pitching staff overall ranks 23rd in ERA, which is a little crazy, cause especially considering how we viewed them coming into the season. I was looking at like Yamamoto, Sasaki, Snell, and whoever else, right? Glasnow, and you're looking at like Kershaw's like your 5. He might even be a 6 in a 6-man rotation, but we were looking at this team thinking they were going to be ridiculous. And obviously they're really good. They're the Dodgers. They have ridiculous talent. They've been this good with some guys underperforming. Mookie Betts has been bad this year, man. Well, not bad, but he's really underperformed.
A sub 700 OPS. I mean, he's that. It's nowhere near Mookie Betts. That is not Mookie Betts.
Exactly.
And
He even said like an interview or press conference or whatever it was not too long ago. Like, man, I've never been this bad for this long. Like, it's crazy.
no, like
Even he's like, damn. But if I'm them, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Because obviously, like, you have your infield short up. You have Tommy Edman. You have Tommy Edman in there. You have Freddie Freeman in there. Max Muncy's injured. But obviously he's probably going to play the hot corner when he comes back. Obviously you're not going out. I don't really think there would be a catcher available, but regardless, you have Will Smith, who's been ridiculous. You have guys. So I'm not really sure what I would say on them. I guess bullpen arms would be the really easy one to say. That almost feels like a cop-out answer, to be honest, because I feel like we said that about like half these teams. But I mean, in all fairness, they do rank 24th in bullpen ERA, but overall,
I'm gonna say an outfielder for them.
Okay. What's if you're the Dodgers? You said outfield. Who are you looking at? If you're the Dodgers, who are you thinking?
So first of all, their outfield right now, you have a guy like Pages, who's just been unbelievable for them. You got Teoscar, who, I mean, his on base percentage isn't great, but he's not like a guy who walks a lot. I mean, his walk percentage is under 5 right now. But obviously, that's not the guy you replace.
Yeah.
Conforto's been struggling. He has definitely been struggling, and I'm looking at a guy like maybe Laureano. I think Laureano's a guy who's 100% going to get moved. As a Blue Jays fan, that's a guy who I would really not mind if the Blue Jays went after in terms of getting in a package with one of their relievers, probably Soto. But I definitely think that a guy like Laureano could be a very good fit for them.
Yeah, I was looking at Laureano's stuff earlier today because obviously he's been kind of having something of a resurgence. Obviously, he was like solid last year too, but he had those few year stretch where he was just he wasn't doing it right. And the thing with him this year, right, is you look at his batter ball profile, right? He whiffs a lot. He doesn't hit the ball very hard, so it's like, how the hell is he doing so good? How does he have a 5.10 expected slugging? How does this work? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we love over here? We love guys who pull fly balls. Pull fly balls. Ramon Laureano, over the course of his career, he's been exceptionally good at pulling the ball in the air. According to StatCast, 25% of his batted balls are pulled in the air, which is really, really good. He's one of the top 50 or so players in the league in that aspect. That's obviously how you can maximize it the best, especially when you don't hit the ball super hard. That is a really good way to maximize it. He's 33rd in pulled air percentage. That's tied with Carlos Santana. He's ahead of guys like Kyle Stowers. Yeah, obviously he's really good. Anyone that could use an outfielder could go for him. Actually, I hate to go back to the Padres right now, but obviously they've been linked to like Jarren Duran. They could go for Ron Laureano if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I got a really fun one for the Dodgers, actually.
What is it? What do you got?
This guy, his name has been out there. I don't think he will get traded because I've heard also conflicting reports saying that this team doesn't really want to move on, but with it, the Dodgers have a pretty good farm system. They definitely have some guys that they could spare. I'm looking at Steven Kwan.
Ooh.
You already have power bats. You got Shohei, who's already hit almost 40. You got Will Smith, who has like 15. Teoscar has like 15. Mookie hasn't had the most, but you know that he can go off at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie Freeman, is a guy who can slug. Tommy Edman has double digits. You don't need to add a guy who's going to be hitting 20, 25 home runs in a season. I think if you had a guy like Kwan who just makes contact with the ball, just gets on base, I think if you have him hitting after guys who can actually get on base already, and you just kind of extend it, like let's say, you have the meat and potatoes of the lineup up. Shohei hits a double, Will Smith, let's say he walks, whatever, and then, there's 2 outs, the lineup's moving. You want a guy who can just hit a single, clear the bases for you. That's a guy that could do that job for you. He's going to cost quite a bit, but the Dodgers have a lot of good outfield prospects that I think that they want to decide to move on from. I mean, you got to think DePaula or Hope. One of the two would have to be in that deal. And I think that for a guy like Steven Kwan, you could make that work.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing with Kwan, right? Obviously, you have mashers. Kwan's not necessarily a masher. Even, like, despite not really being, like, having pretty much no power, he's still a 110 WRC plus guy this year. He's had seasons of... Last year, he was a 131 WRC plus bat. So, like, he's got it in there. He's probably... You would take a 3.5, 4-win player. He's a solid base runner in left field, albeit is not a super valuable defensive position, but he has 14 defensive runs saved.
Yeah.
In left
he's
field
got an incredible arm too.
He does have a really good arm.
And it's also funny we're saying this because, sorry for interrupting, but
yep, I know exactly where you're going with this.
He just had his first multi-home run game of his career today. So I mean, what better timing for that?
Crazy, man. It's crazy. I'll be a fun one. I've never thought about the Quantum Dodgers. I haven't really seen them linked, but yeah, that'd be a ridiculous addition for them. That'd be kind of ridiculous. So, the next team we want to talk about, last team in the NL, we are talking about the team with the best winning percentage in all of baseball right now, the Milwaukee Brewers. You know what kind of vibes I get from this team? I get the ultimate power of friendship vibes from this team.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a single hitter with an OPS of 800 or higher. Or maybe someone like just scratched that. I'm not exactly sure. But they just have found a way to do it. Obviously, they have guys on this team. We've seen what Yelich has done in the past. Jackson Chourio is a guy that, he's... maybe not taking the jump that everyone thought he was going to take second year, but, like, it happens. Like, the guy's young. But their position player core, it doesn't seem like this team should be as good as it is, but they just are. And really, that's what matters, right? Part of it is a certain thing we like to call pitching. They have one of the best rotations of ball right now. They rank second in starters ERA. And in terms of bullpen ERA, they are also pretty good. They aren't quite as good as... What was I going to say? It's not quite as good as the rotation, but that could probably be an area where they go get, although I don't think they really, need to get pitching. Actually, they could definitely use a reliever, too. Power bats. You know what? This could be a Suarez team. I saw not too long ago, I think it was Ken Rosenthal, or maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was someone else, I don't remember who it was, but they had said how much how good of a fit he would be there. And it makes sense. This team doesn't have like a super ridiculous impact bat. They do have some guys who have been hitting pretty well recently. Caleb Durbin has been hitting pretty well for them recently. Overall for the year, it's only a 721 OPS, but he's been pretty nice recently. He's been really good in the month of July. I don't know if you want to ride that out the whole season, or if you want to go get a guy who's an impact right now. It doesn't even have to be him. It could be like a Josh Naylor, Brian O'Hearn, whoever else. Ramon
Yeah,
Laureano, whoever
O'Hearn
it
is
is.
the guy that I was thinking about. O'Hearn for them. I think that would be a solid fit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
And obviously with the Diamondbacks, potentially selling Naylor would also be good. And an old friend of the Blue Jays, Randall Grichuk, we could see him moved. And I think that that's a guy that the Brewers would be all over if that's a guy that we know is going to get traded.
Randall Grichuk, man, I ain't heard that name in a minute. All right,
Mr. Double Play, man.
We're gonna go to the AL teams. So we've heard like mixed reports on the Guardians. We've kind of talked about some of their guys already, so I don't really think we need to talk about them unless there's something that we haven't said that you think is worth saying.
There's a team I do want to talk about pretty badly,
you know what?
and not necessarily in a bad way.
What's the team you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Yankees for a little.
Okay, let's talk about them. Let's start with them.
So obviously, defensively, they're struggling.
They're struggling, man. That showing in Toronto, man, was terrible. What did they have 4 errors last night? Was it 4?
Yeah, I think they've had. I think it was like 12 errors in 10 games this season or something like that against us.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
I think specifically for us, though, I will say to some extent, I think it's a little bit. What am I gonna say? I don't think that their metrics actually are as bad as like they looked during that series, per se. They rank 6th in defensive runs saved, if you believe that.
Yeah,
if
you
don't believe that, albeit outs above average doesn't like them as much. They rank 20th over there, so take what you will, right? But that showing it's bad throws, balls popping out of gloves. It's been tough. It's been tough out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, we know firsthand what the atmosphere is like in Toronto. It can get brutal. I mean, you remember what happened in the ALDS back in 2015 with the 3 errors in the 1 inning for the Rangers. I mean, the crowd just gets to you, and with a sold-out crowd last night, I mean, it clearly got to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. For one way or another, they were bad, and they do have some places they could upgrade. One thing I was thinking for them, they have had overall a pretty good rotation this year, but obviously Clark Schmidt's down, so they're gonna need a guy to replace that kind of production, and not just replace the production. But he was good. He's been really good for them this year. So that's obviously a big loss for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see them on the trade market trying to get whatever top arms available. Because it's kind of hard to just have a guy with a 3.30 ERA in your rotation go down and then just snap somebody into that rotation that's going to give you that same production. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a starter. Bullpen has been a little bit shaky, but I don't really think that it's like a dire need for them. They have been linked to a certain someone in Arizona, and unfortunately, I think that this team is the best fit for this guy, which kind of pains me to say a little bit. We've talked about Suarez so much; he's kind of just the best bat on available at the deadline. But
yeah,
he is kind of, unfortunately, he fits like a glove on the Yankees. I think, especially since they cut Dieter LeMahieu. They have moved Jazz back to second base finally. I don't know why he was there in the first place, but regardless, he fits like a glove there. Obviously, he's going to pound the hell out of the baseball, which they are one of baseball's best hitting teams. I think they lead the league in home runs. But apparently, also the Diamondbacks. I saw a report. I didn't save it, unfortunately. I don't know where I saw it, but they have been. Apparently, they really like the Yankees farm system. There was a report saying they're all over the Yankees farm system. I'm gonna look for it right now, actually, but I think he would fit in there really well, which kind of pains me to say.
Yeah, I mean, going back Arenado, that's another one.
Oh yeah, true. That's right. Sorry, it was Andy Martino of SNY. He was reporting that the Diamondbacks really like the Yankees farm. So we'll see what that means.
Yeah. I mean, if the Yankees can get a guy like Suarez without giving up like Spencer Jones, who would be a big trade. That's not like
That would be crazy. If I'm the Diamondbacks and I hear that, I'm taking it before they could say we take that back.
exactly. A name that also really intrigues me is Ke'Bryan Hayes.
I was looking at him right before the thing because I was gonna do a little thing. We were gonna talk about Brian Hayes. So obviously we know Brian Hayes, great defensive player, right? That is not a secret. The guy's ridiculous with the glove. He has 15 defensive runs saved so far this year, 14 outs above average. The guy's insane. I don't really think it takes a genius to tell you that, but his bat also stinks. Overall this year it's even out to about 1 WAR according to Fangraphs, but it would help their defense.
Yeah,
you probably aren't seeing that showing you saw in Toronto last night, but what do you?
That's the thing.
What
I
are you
mean,
saying here?
my thought process, if they were to get Ke'Bryan, is that their offense has been so good hitting home runs. You don't need Ke'Bryan to come in and be like some 130 WRC plus bat. You don't need him to be some elite guy.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm looking at is if you can get anything close to his production back in 2023, then you're ecstatic if you're whatever team trading for him.
Given how good his defense is, I think if you even got him to like a 75 WRC plus, I think you take that with how good his defense
100%.
Because he's probably, I'm saying this off the top of my head without actually looking at it, but he's probably like a top 3 defensive infielder in the entire league.
Yeah.
And those don't grow on trees.
No.
I think he has. He's got an extension going too, so it depends on how much the Pirates view that contract. Obviously, if they view it as we want to get off the deal, maybe to some extent they do because otherwise he wouldn't be in trade talks. But he isn't really getting paid that much. The AAV over his extension, which albeit ranges from 2022 to 2029, also has a 2030 club option, is 875. So you wouldn't be shelling out super big bucks. Maybe Yankee staff there, they see something. All right, we can get him a little bit better than what he is. Maybe if he's still well below average, like we said, 75 WRC plus. Even if it's like 80, you still take that. That's still a pretty valuable player. Considering multiple things. Number one, how much firepower they have, and number two, just how good his defense is. There is another note. I don't think this is actually going to end up really being anything, but I saw this note here that apparently, it's weird. I don't think it's actually going to amount to anything. I think it's just like one of those, kind of one of those things. But apparently, there have been some teams that have asked about trading for Ben Rice as a catcher. Now, apparently, at the same time, the Yankees don't really. Apparently, they're reluctant to move him. This is from a report from Joel Sherman. Now, obviously, the guy has been playing a lot of first this year. Obviously, catcher is not out of the equation, but he hasn't really played much catcher at the major league level. Across a little bit of time last year, and then of course this year he's played a total of 13 games at catcher. He's only started 5 of those. So I think it's interesting to see if they would do that. I don't think the Yankees are going to trade him. I think that's mostly just going to be smoke. That doesn't really affect anything. I think that's kind of what it's going to be. But I think it's an interesting thought to think about.
I think the only way he gets moved is if they decide to go after some huge name starter or something to that extent.
Like if they go after like a Joe Ryan or something like that.
Exactly. Like, obviously, he's not going to be the headliner of that trade, but...
That would be... Yeah, that makes sense. That would be, like, the kind of way that he would...
I mean, yeah.
It's interesting, because I would never have thought about them moving him. And obviously, he did play a good amount of catcher in the minors, so it's not like this is some out-of-nowhere thing.
Right.
I would have never even crossed my mind that, oh, yeah, let them go trade Ben Rice away, because, when I would look at guys, I'm thinking, all right, especially the top first base DH guys, looking at Naylor, O'Hearn, I'm thinking, nah, that doesn't really fit for them because they have Ben Rice. Now they're like, might trade him away to go be a catcher. So, interesting. Again, I don't think it's going to really amount to anything, but it's an interesting little thought experiment.
Also, for speaking about the Yankees and pitching, a fit that I really like, there's 2 fits. One's Keller, who we've already touched on. One we haven't mentioned yet that I think would be a great addition to this Yankees rotation, Seth Lugo.
Man.
I think that would be an incredible ad for them.
I mean, yeah, Seth Lugo has been kind of crazy this year. He is probably he's either somewhere in the top 3 most coveted pitchers at the deadline, depending on how you rank him, Merrill Kelly, and whoever else would be available off the top of my head. I'm not exactly remembering at the moment, but he's one of the most coveted pitchers right now at the deadline. His peripherals do not scream ridiculous, but he's been really good over the past 3 years, so it doesn't really matter. Ever since he was with the Padres, obviously he had some good seasons with the Mets too, but specifically talking about being a starter, he became a starter in San Diego obviously 2 years ago, and he was really good. Then last year he was crazy with the Royals, and he's really good this year again too. He's pitching at a Cy Young pace, but I think any contender should be all over him. And you're right. I think the Yankees should be calling about a guy like this, or like you said, Mitch Keller, Merrill Kelly, whoever, specifically Seth Lugo, for example. It would help them kind of fill that hole in their rotation that they're missing because of Clark Schmidt's injury.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't happen, obviously, because that's in my division, and I don't really need this team to get any better because they're already really good. But, I do think, you're right. I think he fits really well with this team. I think either of the third baseman we mentioned fit really well with this team. It's a little tough. I think they also could go for some bullpen as well, obviously. They traded for a certain somebody in the offseason. He hasn't been quite as great as you would have hoped. They actually rank 21st in bullpen ERA, 4.07. So I think they should definitely look at some relievers as well. But
I can see them making a run for Duran.
Yeah. If the Twins decide to move on from Duran, which obviously that's gonna be a little bit of a price, but
that's a team I want to talk about next. By the way,
we're gonna talk about the Twins.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to it. Let's go to the Twins, man. They have guys. They have guys they don't really need to move, but they can if they want to, and they can get a decent haul. We just talked about Duran. We mentioned Joe Ryan a little bit.
I don't think Joe Ryan's getting moved. I think so. That would have to take, an absolute haul.
Yeah, he has
They have so many good bullpen arms to the point where not only do they? I think obviously they don't have to trade any of them, but I don't want to say they'd be stupid not to. But you got to get some assets for some of these guys at this point.
This is you're right. They have obviously Duran is the obvious one that everyone's looking at. Another guy that's been mentioned a lot with various teams have been Griffin Jacks. This team,
Danny Coulombe.
This team is interesting. This team can definitely do some things at the deadline. It would be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, Duran's going to net you the most because he's the best pitcher there, and he has I think he's another 2 years of control after this year. Maybe it's 3. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's 2. But that's a team that could do something, and they could really bulk the hell out of that farm. Like you said, I agree that I don't think they're going to move Ryan. Apparently, what it is that they're listening, but they don't really plan on trading him. Kind of like the Emmanuel Clase thing, it was Clase, they're listening, but they don't really.
It's one of those things where if they get an offer that they can't refuse, then then you talk about it. I remember hearing I've seen a lot of Jays fans on Twitter, and the only reason I'm pointing out the Jays is because I follow more Jays fans than any other fan. I've seen a lot of people want him, and it's that would be awesome, but I think the trade package would revolve around probably a Savage and a Mala, not one or the other.
Yeah, people will say, "Oh well, I'm not trading this guy." One thing that we have to remember, regardless,
you got to trade assets to get assets.
Yeah, getting good players it might sting a little bit. You might give up that prospect that you're really excited about, that has really high upside or whatever. It is gonna take, if you're getting a great player, you're gonna have to give up something worth a great player. We would all love to trade bottom of the barrel prospects and get top end guys, but unfortunately, that isn't how it happens. Unless the GM on the other side happens to be the GM of the Colorado Rockies, you are not going to make that happen.
Yeah.
Rockies fans, I apologize for the stray, but I think you would probably all agree with me. But yeah, that's a really interesting team. I would love to. That's going to be another interesting team at the deadline. So a team that was talked a little bit as maybe a soft seller, or maybe like a bubble team. They were viewed as a bubble team. They could go either way. It depends how it goes up until the deadline. But I think they're slowly starting to move themselves into maybe not hard buyers territory, but they're kind of itching their way further into buyer territory as the Texas Rangers. As of the All-Star break,
Yeah.
they were sub 500. I think they were like a game or two under. There was obviously it was like outside shot, like if DeGrom were to get moved, right? But obviously that was like, he's really good. It's like 4 more years on his contract, like whatever, probably won't happen. Especially considering how good this team's pitching staff has been, and how some of their bats are starting to turn it around. And obviously you're seeing that in their record. This team is really starting to get interesting. Corey Seager has caught fire recently after he had a not very good start to the season. Obviously, we know how bad Marcus Semien started out the year. Unfortunately, I drafted him really high in fantasy, and I tried to hang on a little bit, but it kind of killed me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that I didn't do the same thing
I
there.
drafted him, Drew. I drafted him like 30th overall, and he was terrible.
I got him in one of like I don't know what round it was exactly, but it was in a dynasty league, so he definitely didn't go like that early, but definitely kind of regret that pick.
Man, it's been a little tough, but he's been getting better. He's approaching a 700 OPS again, so we'll see what happens there. This is a team that I'm not really sure what they would do, because like a week ago they were sub 500. We're looking at them maybe as a team that maybe like retool, like maybe they get a guy that can help them, maybe not this year but next year, something like that, right? So I think this is a team that what happens over the course of the next few days could drastically alter what they decide to do. Yeah, it'd be really interesting. I'm not really sure what I would do if I was them. They're a really puzzling team.
There's a name that I've heard come out of there that's very intriguing, and that's Adolis Garcia.
Okay.
If they decide that they want to sell off, obviously he's not having the greatest season, but that's a big power bat that can hit a home run in any given moment.
Do we think that if they did move Adolis Garcia, I don't think they would full sell at the deadline. I think if anything they would be like, get a guy who can help me next year type of thing. Do we think that if they traded Adolis Garcia, because obviously he has had years, he has the type of profile of someone you would expect to be really good. Unfortunately for me, I picked him as one of my bounce back candidates early in the year, and actually he had a game like really early on in the season where he was doing a lot of the things that you would want someone to do. He's pulling the ball, hitting it really hard. His bat speed looked really good, and I wrote a little article thinking, yeah, if he does this, he keeps doing this, he will he's back, and he kind of hasn't been doing that. But it's interesting. I think if you did trade Adolis Garcia, could this potentially be to a team you're getting like a major league swap instead of like a prospect thing, or what do you think?
I don't think a team is going to trade, a very young, touted, highly touted prospect for Adolis Garcia. I think it'll probably be a guy who is kind of on the cusp. I'm using the Blue Jays as an example because I know the team best. I would say a guy in a situation like maybe like a Will Wagner, Joey Loperfido, in the sense of not super young, not like 21, 22 years old, but young enough to give you a bunch of years and is kind of still, gracing the surface here of Major League Baseball. A guy who shows who shows potential at the major league level, not just the minor league, so they're getting an actual major league player. But I don't know. I don't really know what the Rangers are going to do. I don't know how highly they value him. I don't really know the price at all. I can't even really speculate. That's the problem here.
Yeah, like I said, it's a team that probably the next what happens over the next of the course happens over the course of the next 6 or so days is probably going to determine what ends up happening with them. There is a decent chance that they don't do anything. There is a decent chance that they maybe soft buy, a decent chance that they sell. Who knows? I have no idea. I don't even know what I would do if I was them, because I think they're just a really weird team right now.
I mean, they have a series against the Braves, and the Braves obviously not having a good year, so they might, let's say they take 2 or 3 or sweep the Braves, then even though it's the Braves, the front office might see, okay, this team's on fire. We want to do something.
Mm-hmm. Another team I want to talk about really quick. I want to talk about this is a team that I think if they make the right moves, they could be ridiculous. Seattle. Seattle. It's Seattle.
Oh, as much as
They.
it pains me to say that.
I think that listen, there was I went on my friend's podcast a week ago and I pitched a move. I didn't really like say what they would be giving up because
I
I don't
want to
really
hear
know.
this.
I'm not thinking about that deep, right? Number one, here's the thing that actually came out. They're eyeing a reunion with a certain somebody, and we've mentioned him God knows how many times already. He's the best bat on the market, whatever, Suarez, right? But that's not the only
Yeah.
thing. Here and there, you see teams trade their guys together if they have multiple guys to sell. An example that I thought of was when the Dodgers, they traded Max Scherzer and Trey Turner in the same package. There's some sort of like honking horn outside my building. I don't know what that was.
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
It sounded like a fire truck. I don't know what that was. I should close my door, but whatever.
Then they heard that's the hot stove. The stove's hot right now.
The hot
That's
stove.
what they're
That's
coming
what's
for.
happening. The rumor mill is hot right now. That's what's happening. So I got ambitious for them. I don't know what the return would be. But like I said, we see here and there you see guys get moved together. Trey Turner, Max Scherzer was the example I used. Obviously, Suarez nor this other player I'm about to mention are quite as good as either of those two, but they're really damn good in their own right. Seattle, what they need, I think more than anything, is corner infield guys. And Arizona happens to have two that are really good. So I thought, what if they somehow work some magic and they get some sort of deal and they bring in Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez?
Oh,
I
my.
don't know what the price would be on that because here's the thing to think about. Number one, it's more than just one rental because guess what? Now you're getting a second player involved. I don't think it would be some ridiculous King's ransom type of thing because again, they're both expiring. If they're selling off, they probably wouldn't bring them back anyways. Or at least that's how I would view it. I think doing it would be doable off the top of my head. I haven't like gone in and checked, all right, this prospect would be involved and based on this value and blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of just workshopping an idea very early, but I think that this would be such a fun move for
It
Seattle.
would be. I mean,
I would probably,
wow.
it would make me probably defecate in my pants the next time that we played them. Like if I was any team, if I went up against that lineup, I would defecate in my pants. Everywhere. Like it would be bad. I'd be really scared of this team.
And I'm not saying that they need I'm not saying they have to stand pat with pitching, but like this is a pitching staff that goes band for band with any staff, and I'm talking staff as a whole with any team in the league.
Listen, if you're Seattle, you're saying screw band for band. We're going M for M right now.
Yeah, I mean,
like they got it. They can maybe use like a bit of bullpen help because I think they're
100%.
like mid tier bullpen.
That's not a team I'm looking to get a guy like Class A Helsley Bautista.
Exactly. That's the thing.
That
you know,
you don't need to spend an arm and a leg.
Exactly. But man, I was thinking about that and I was like, oh god, that would be such a fun move.
Incredible.
That would be ridiculous if something like that happened. I think regardless if it's Suarez or it's Naylor, I think they're going to be in on other guys too, like a Ryan O'Hearn. I am calling about as well if I'm Seattle.
Yeah.
Like those are the main things. If you go anywhere, you ask any reporter, they're saying Seattle needs corner and field. That's what they need, and those are some of the best guys available. God, that would be insane. Suarez reunion there. There are two teams that could actually have a Suarez reunion. It's them in Cincinnati because Cincinnati was talking about it too. We might there's two different avenues where we could have a Suarez reunion. So that would be interesting to see. I just wanted to talk about them because I wanted to say that because I think that would be ridiculous. Next team we're going to talk about the third wildcard team in the American League. We're going to talk about the Boston Red Sox. So this team, they stumbled a little bit coming out of the break. Obviously, going into the break, they won like 10 straight, 10 or 11, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They stumbled a little bit coming out of the break. They started 1-4 out of the break. They won yesterday against Philadelphia, thanks to
that was a gutsy win. What a game that was.
Extra inning, Carlos Narvaez game winner in extras. Look at that. It was
Romy Gonzalez with the grand slam. That was just an unfortunate inning there for the Phillies and for Luzardo. I mean, he definitely had a rough one. Walked, I think, 3 straight batters it was, including 2 of them in and then the grand slam. Man. But, I mean, the Red Sox just don't have quit in them right now. They're proving why they want to be, a team that's talked about in this division. They don't want to just be like the little brother of the division. They want to make the postseason and do some damage.
Mm-hmm. Albeit, we talked about how bad the Phillies bullpen was. They only allowed 1 earned run last night. There was obviously also multiple
Yeah.
other unearned ones, but regardless,
Right.
that doesn't change the fact they need bullpen. Boston is a really interesting one. They have a little bit of an interesting situation. They have a surplus of outfielders. People have mostly mentioned, could they move Jarren Duran? Could they move Wilyer Abreu? If I'm the Red Sox, I am not even thinking twice. The guy is Jarren Duran. I am not moving Wilyer Abreu.
Right.
He's really young. He has a lot of control. They both have control, obviously, but Abreu is a good defensive player. He can slug a little bit. Years of control. He's young. I'm keeping Abreu. I am moving probably Jarren Duran if I'm moving any of those guys. We obviously mentioned the possibility that he goes to San Diego and what that would look like, and how I did say I think Dylan Cease is a really good fit for this team. From the Red Sox perspective, we can go workshop some other names. Obviously, they need pitching because guess what? It is kind of looking like Garrett Crochet and Friends right now. They need to bolster it up a little bit behind him. Brian Bello has been pretty good too, but you need, I think, it's not like the type of thing where you can get a 5-starter and you can call it a deadline. Like, you kind of need some...
Yeah, you
kind of need some, a little bit more than that. You need a little bit more dip on your chip right now. And
exactly.
It's looking a little tough out there. But luckily, there are some starters on the market. We've mentioned however many guys. I think any of them would fit. I'm not sure exactly which one they would target. I'm not sure if they would want to target a rental. I'm not sure if they would want to target a guy with years in control. If they do that, they could go after like an Edward Cabrera in that case. I don't know if they've been mentioned as a suitor. I don't know. I don't think Cabrera is going to get traded at the deadline, but that's the thing. I mentioned earlier, I think they were one of the teams that called on Cease. Another thing that they could do, they traded away a certain guy about a month ago, ruffled a lot of feathers, but that obviously left them with a hole. First base / DH. Yeah. Obviously, Tristan Costa is down for the year, but even before that, when they traded this guy, they left a little bit of a hole, first base DH. For Red Sox fans, I'll spare you. I won't say the guy's name that got traded because I know it might still sting a little bit. I would too. I don't blame you. I would be mad too. But I think they could be another team for a Josh Naylor. I think they would be a really good fit for Ryan O'Hearn. I think they would be really good for either one of those guys. I think outside of that, they could go for like a Nate Lowe, albeit he's had better years.
What about Jesus Sanchez?
Ooh, that is a bit of an interesting one for them. He would, he would help. He would help kind of shore that up. The only thing though is they have a. They kind of have a surplus of outfielders, and I'm not really sure.
It's one of those things where you don't want to get a guy who's just going to be DHing because we obviously saw what happened with the guy we're not going to name.
Mm-hmm. Redacted,
but I'm just saying in terms of redacted. I'm just saying in terms of a DH bat, and especially if you move out one of your outfielders, that also helps fit. And it's funny that we just talked about the game last night, because I think that a team that should be all over Duran is the Phillies.
Yeah, I wouldn't even hate that. I wouldn't even hate that. Yeah, actually, I kind of agree with that a little bit. Obviously, they gotta get bullpen first. I think that's the urgent one. But I mean,
right, 100%.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt if the Red Sox are shopping one of those outfielders, which I imagine one probably gets moved at the deadline. I would think.
It's not Yoshida.
Yeah, it's probably not Yoshida. I think those are the two main guys that are being like discussed in trades. It was Duran and Blue. Maybe there's been some outside talk about Yoshida or something like that. But yeah, listen, I ain't putting Yoshida in no damn outfield. I'm not letting
You're telling me you don't want a guy who hasn't walked yet this year?
Oh, I meant I wasn't putting him on defense in the outfield. But I mean,
that too.
I meant I'm not letting him putting on a glove.
Yeah,
I'm not letting him put that on. albeit
there's just not a long line of suitors for that contract
yeah,
and that
albeit
kind of
you're right. He
player,
doesn't have a
unfortunately.
walk yet this year. You're right. I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize how little he's played. I kind of forgot he just wasn't playing for a while. But um, yeah, man, that's kind of what we're saying on the Red Sox. We'll go on to the division
Yeah.
leaders now. Um, because respectfully, I don't really. I would talk about the Rays, but I don't really have much to say on them. Um,
Then I have an idea. Instead of the Rays, can I bring up a team that's not a division leader, but it's just I don't know what they're going to be doing at the
bring it in,
deadline.
bring it in.
The Angels.
Yup. They were the All Star break. They were like a game under 500. Obviously, they came into our home and they got swept. That was before the All Star break, though, I think. But yeah, that was before the All Star break. But right at the All Star break, they were like a game under 500. It was a team where I was like, damn, that might be interesting to see what they can do. They have, they have some guys, but at the same time, this is a team that kind of buys at weird times. Do you remember, what was it, 2 years ago? It was when Ohtani's deal was expiring, and people were saying, like, yeah, like, they were kind of out of the playoff race by then. Ohtani was expiring, they were like, you should trade Ohtani while you can, because he's probably not coming back, and you should get what you can for him. And then they decided to trade one of their top prospects for Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do. They're 5 games out. They are they're further out than they were before. If they wanted to try to make a wild card run, they would have to jump Kansas City. They'd have to jump Cleveland. They'd have to jump Texas, Tampa Bay, and then one of Boston, New York, Seattle. It would probably, probably Seattle or Boston because I don't think New York is losing that top 1 spot. But they'd have to jump like at least 5 teams.
I 100% see a guy like Kikuchi getting moved.
That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting one. I don't think there's been much buzz around him, but I think you're right. I wouldn't be opposed to trading him if I am the Angels. To be completely honest, I was a little surprised by how much money he got. Albeit, hey, he's been pitching damn well this year, so shout out Kikuchi getting his money. Obviously, that's our boy. We know that, but
yeah.
That'd be an interesting team.
They have some bats that are interesting. I mean, Yoel Moncada resurgence. I mean,
Taylor Ward. So many people have been talking about Taylor Ward, where he would
go.
Any team that kind of needs outfield or power. I should have mentioned Taylor Ward potentially for San Diego. I should have mentioned that. I forgot to do that. We were talking about the Dodgers. He could even go there, but
there's one name that sticks out like a sore thumb for me on that team.
Who is it?
It's Joe Adell.
Joe Adell. He was apparently he was in an interview or press conference, whatever it was. He was saying, "Damn, man, it stung when I didn't get selected to the All-Star team." And I'm like, I mean, yeah, because you should have made it over a certain other outfielder who made it, but well, another guy should have made it over Adell too. But but yeah, Joe Adell is an interesting one because he's finally having himself a bit of a year, right? He has an OPS
incredible.
Just under 800. He's currently just over 20 home runs. Decent chance he gets to 30 by the end of the year, or if not 30, he'll come close, I'm sure. But it's an interesting one because I feel like Adell has been a guy that they've waited for forever to become like that guy. Obviously, he was touted that as a prospect. He has a few more years of control on him. I think it'll be a little interesting. I think you have, 3 more years of team control on him. I think you have 26, 27, 28, I think. If I am counting correctly. But
I believe you're right.
Yeah. That would be an interesting one to think about because obviously like he's doing pretty good right now. You're probably looking at him to play some left or right field. I'm not putting him in center field. I respectfully don't want no negative 13 defensive runs saved patrolling my center field, nor no 6 or minus 6 outs above average. But or I guess
it's just one of those things.
I guess in this case, 6 outs below average. But you're looking at him probably play a corner spot, maybe some DH here and there, and he can be a good enough hitter. You probably want him mostly in the outfield because I don't think his offense is quite good enough to give you a whole lot of value at DH, assuming that he's like a 110, 115 WRC plus bat. It would be interesting. I haven't really thought about Joe Adell potentially being traded because there hasn't really been any buzz as far as
that's why he sticks out to me, because it's like he's finally doing what Angels fans and the Angels have expected and wanted from him. He's finally having that legitimate breakout season, even more than last year. And it's just, do you want to trade him when his value is this high? Do you want to just kind of ride with him and hope that this is what you get for years to come? He's still only 26 years old. It's not like he's 32, 33, and there's a chance that that's his like only good year and then he's done. It's just, that's a name that really intrigues me for a team that's looking to get a guy that's not strictly a rental, that's
Mm-hmm.
looking for a guy that could potentially be part of their team, their core of postseason team for the next 3, 4 plus years.
Mm-hmm. I think if I'm the Angels, I wouldn't want to, and one reason is because, well, like we said, he's young. He's finally having that breakout year. I think the ceiling can be even higher for him. I think he does
A
have
hundred
the shot
percent.
to be really like even better than this. I think he can legitimately be an all-star level bat if it all comes together. One thing that might not stick out to everyone, if you're not seeing it, he is underperforming his ex-Wobo by over 50 points.
Yeah.
His expected Wobo ranks in the 94th percentile according to Statcast. 393. His actual Woba is 340, if I read that right. Yeah, 340. He hits the ball pretty hard. He barrels the hell out of the ball. 16.9% barrel rate is, again, 94th percentile. His expected slugging is 97th percentile. This guy has has a real chance to be like a ridiculous level hitter. And it's not like he has a bad batted ball profile either. He pulls the ball in the air a decent amount too, 18.6%, which is pretty good. So it's not like you're gonna expect him to underperform those metrics because of like a batted ball profile. I think that he's a guy that could, again, like I said, he can develop into an all-star level bat. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. In fact, if I wouldn't be surprised if he has like a ridiculous hot streak to end the year, to be honest with you. And those numbers sort of, he catches up to what his metrics suggest he should be doing. But since it's the trade deadline, let's be fun. If you were to get traded, which I don't think either of us are really expecting, I think if I'm them, you are probably looking at him staying on the Angels. There are obviously destinations he could go, but he would also cost a lot. He would cost
He
a
would.
lot.
He would.
I think he would cost a lot more than people are expecting as well. Because someone might look at, 780 OPS, that's not that crazy, right? But you also got to realize he's young, he's got control, all that. That's going to cost, right? And like,
A team that I could just see taking that chance. It's a team that we've seen the Angels have a lot of trade history with over the past couple of years with, and it's a team that we've touched on quite a bit. A team that I said could use an outfielder, obviously relief pitching first, but it's the Phillies again. I mean, they have some really good prospects that they can trade, that they can afford to get rid of. A guy like Crawford, potentially one of their pitching guys, either Micabel or Andrew Painter. I wouldn't say Aiden Miller in this trade, but that's just another name. I think that makes sense.
yeah. This would be a trade, like, if it went down, you're hitting that and you're like, whoa. Obviously, every deadline, there's the guys who are heavily expected to be traded. There's guys, they're being shopped here, they're being shopped there, they're being shopped damn near everywhere. They're pretty much everyone around, right? But this would be one where it's like, whoa, like that.
Yeah,
He
and
just
it's
got traded. What?
and it's not to say that like they can't also get bullpen help from the Angels. Obviously, the Angels don't have some like top heavy talent like a lot of other teams, but I mean, Kenley Jansen still has something left in the tank. Brock Burke has been good. I mean, there's options there that aren't high end. Obviously, the front of the trade, like the what you're giving up is not going to be for one of the relievers, but it would also allow you to get another reliever from another team that's better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a bit of an interesting one, I gotta say. And then again, if they bought, I don't really think they should buy because they're quite a bit out. I think they could do like a soft sell kind of thing. But if they
I
did
agree with
buy,
that.
it would be an interesting thing because a week ago, some people were saying, "Well, they do this, will they do that?" At least they're under 500, but they were like 2.5, 3 games out, whatever. But I think they're kind of getting pushed over into the sell category because they're starting to falter a
Yeah,
little bit. They've lost 6 of 10. They lost 3 in a row. It's a tough one there. So, we've touched on all the wild card teams. Before we go to the division leaders, is there anyone else you want to talk about that you think is interesting?
Team wise or player wise?
Team wise, I guess.
No, I
No.
think I'm.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's good for now.
So we're gonna go into the division leaders in the AL. So we have a team out Central. They are pretty much the only good team in the AL Central right now. The Detroit Tigers, man. I think a lot of people expect them to be good coming into the year. I didn't realize they're going to be this good.
I did not think
They
they'd
have
be this good.
far and away for a good chunk of time. They had the best record in baseball. They've kind of lost that over the last little bit. They've lost 9 of their last 10, although.
Yeah.
So they're in a little bit of a skid right now. So it's looking a little bit rough. One thing that I am looking at for them. Surprise, surprise! I'm looking at bullpen arms probably.
Yeah.
And the main thing for them is they've had a little bit of struggle coming out of that pen. I say that because they ranked 20th in bullpen ERA. So some of the guys on the market, we've mentioned all the guys, even some of the top end guys, some of the rental guys, whoever, they could use pretty much any of them right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about, guys getting traded in pairs. We talked about Dominguez and Soto, and there's a pair of relievers from a team that I haven't mentioned yet, and I've been meaning to because I've had talks with a fan of this team that about potentially the Blue Jays acquire what he would like from the Jays, and it's Pittsburgh. I mean, Bednar and Santana could be a very interesting duo getting traded.
Yep, that would be a really interesting one. They actually could be a match for a team we just talked about as well. What if what if they went on and they got like a Kenley Jansen, something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
there's other guys.
There's lots of options.
Atlanta has a lot of guys that they could trade.
That's a team that we got to talk about actually after this.
Iglesias. We'll talk about them in the little sellers part. That's a really interesting team.
Yeah.
Atlanta has a lot of guys they could trade. Rizal Iglesias is one of them, I think. Could be a really good fit over here.
Pierce Johnson.
Yup. Pierce Johnson's another one. We talked earlier about how the Cardinals are kind of one of those middle teams. We're not really sure what they would end up doing. But they have shopped, or I don't know if they're shopping him, but they are listening on Ryan Helsley, and some contenders are interested in him. This is another team that would be, I think, a good fit for Ryan Helsley too, just because this is really what they need. They could use some depth starting pitching because they've had a little bit of disappointment here, i.e. Jack Flaherty, who unfortunately I also drafted in fantasy, and he was really good for a couple months, and then he sucked. But this is a team that, again, I don't really think they need to go and get top of the line guys. You have some guys in there. I don't think it's a stretch to say they have the best pitcher in baseball, or at worst, like the third best pitcher in baseball, if you really don't like him.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're listening to this, Mr. Scooble, I feel free to just take the series off to be with your kid and your wife.
I think that would be a really good idea, Mr. Scooble. If you're listening, I actually second that, and I think you should. I think you should go spend some time with your children.
Bonding at this age, at that point for a kid, I mean, it's necessary, honestly.
Exactly, it's really important. I mean, hey, he is on the paternity list right now.
Exactly.
But apparently, he won't miss the next start, which is a little tough. But yeah, they have him. They have Reese Olson, who came back from an injury pretty recently, and obviously Reese Olson is damn nice. But I think they could use some depth starters, someone to shore up maybe the middle to back end of that rotation would be good, especially some assurance if Jack Flaherty doesn't return to form. Those would be some guys that they could go after, but I don't really think that they have too many weaknesses on the position player front because they have just so many guys that have been damn good. Obviously, they had All-Stars. They had Zach McKinstry, who is, I don't remember if he made the All-Star game or not, but he's been damn good.
He did. He
made it in his reserve. That's right. He was an injury replacement for somebody.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Tigers didn't do great in the All-Star game, but
the AL Central sold my damn All-Star game, man.
Yeah, just thank goodness that it doesn't determine home field advantage anymore.
God, dude, that was crazy. What was the last year that happened? Was it 2016 or was it 17?
I think it was around it was around 10 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when. That is just so insane to me, especially a game where the majority of the teams are voted on by the fans.
That's good that it decides home field and World Series. Like, that's crazy.
That's insane. Yeah,
that's ridiculous, man. The Cleveland having home field advantage over the Cubs, even though the Cubs won like 7 more games.
I mean, the thing is, though, just with how crazy and unpredictable sports are in baseball, and with how, like, the domino effects of one thing happening, the rest happen. Who
Sometimes
knows?
it
If
don't
the
matter,
Cubs if the Cubs got home field advantage, who's to say they'd end up winning?
right?
You know?
Who knows? Um, but yeah, that's another team. Before we get to our team, we'll talk about Houston first. This is a team that became a little more interesting recently. So at first, I think if you're Houston, you're mostly looking for a few things. You're looking for maybe like a left-handed bat. I'm not exactly sure what I'd be looking for if I was this team, because this team doesn't really have too much of a weakness, or like nothing like glaring, I think. But something that became a little more interesting is that Isaac Paredes just landed on the IL. I think otherwise you're probably just lefty bats, and now you're looking for a third baseman because you don't know how long Isaac Paredes is going to be down for. Obviously, they have Jeremy Pena on the IL, but he is apparently. They were saying he should return somewhat early in the second half, so I don't think he's too far. 2 days ago, they said he's set to face live pitching, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if you can hear those sirens. It sounds like an ambulance, but
I mean, it's the hot stove. I'm telling
it
you.
is the hot stove. They're saying. But yeah, he landed on the IO with a hamstring strain, so that could be not great,
Well,
or it could be like he's back somewhat. Who knows? But
if we're on the topic of third baseman, what are your thoughts on the Astros making a run at a guy like Ryan McMahon?
Ryan McMahon is a really interesting one. I don't remember how much buzz there was around
Or the
him
Yankees, even for
in
that matter.
in the offseason. See, in I had this talk with one of my friends. I was on his podcast in the offseason, and here's the thing: Ryan McMahon, he kind of like I think about him the same sort of way that I think about Brian Hayes in the context of who I was trading for him. Obviously, Brian Hayes is an infinitely better defender, but also Ryan McMahon's a lot better of a bat. You are getting someone like this if you don't need like a super duper impact guy at that position. You just need someone who you need someone to be a solid player, maybe someone who's good enough until Paredes gets back or whoever, right? If I'm the Astros, I think you don't have to go for a Suarez because
No.
eventually Isaac Paredes is going to be back eventually, right? So I think you can go for like a Ryan McMahon and you can be fine. You can move him wherever when Paredes comes back. If I'm the Yankees, I don't really know how much I love it, to be honest.
I mean, he's still a very good defender.
He's a solid defender, and he's shown over the last few years he's been a really good defender. I think in the context of this year, I think if I'm going to go for one of those guys, I think I would rather just go for Hayes because of how much better his defense is.
I would agree in the Yankees sense.
Specifically for the Yankees case, I would.
Yes.
I wouldn't really want to do it. I wouldn't do it otherwise if I was them. But
I've just seen McMahon's name pop up in the last couple days. I thought I'd mention him.
Oh yeah, of course. I think he could actually be like an okay fit for Houston, actually.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't really think I don't really think Brian Hayes works because again, he like Paredes is going to come back eventually, and that's kind of his spot right there, right? Not that Isaac Paredes is a Brian Hayes level defensive player that you can't move off his position. But I think when you have someone there, it just gets kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Paredes is that I felt like him to Houston was a match made in heaven with that
Crawford boxes, man.
the wall in left field. I mean, I thought that was an incredible match, and if you look at his spray chart, literally every single home run he's hit this year has been pulled. So
yeah, I mentioned, I think I mentioned it when I was talking about Laureano, about how good he is at pulling the ball. Isaac Paredes is like the poster child for pulled fly balls. I'm pretty sure he has the best pulled air rate in the entire league. It's 37.4% of his batted balls are in the air to the pull side, which I don't think anyone would understand. Off the top,
there's only one player with a better one. I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's Kyle Raleigh.
Exactly.
It's those two.
Yeah.
Those are some of the best power hitters in baseball right now. I don't think that number sounds as crazy as it actually is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A third of your batted balls are going in the air to the pull side. Obviously, that is the best way to maximize your batted balls anywhere, especially if you're not hitting the ball super hard. Paredes does it better than almost anyone in baseball. Like we just said, only one person is doing it better than him this year in that aspect. But I think maybe you could move him to first if you don't think Christian Walker is going to do a thing. But I don't really think Brian Hayes is as much of a fit as I think Ryan McMahon is. I think Ryan McMahon has a little bit more versatility. You can move him to second if you need to. You can always move him to first as well, but I think that as well, because they need left-handed bats, I think that Ryan McMahon could be okay. I think if you're going for a left-handed bat, if you're trying to get someone to hold you over until Jordan comes back, I think Ryan McMahon could be good enough, depending on how much longer it takes for Jordan to come back from whatever, from his injury. You might want someone with a little more impact in there, whoever that would be. But in terms of Ryan McMahon, I do think, yes, he could be a pretty solid fit in Houston, actually, especially depending on how long Paredes is going to be out. We'll see what happens there. And is there anything else you want to say on the Astros before we move on to our next?
No, I think that's good.
Let's move, man. I saved them for last. These are our boys. We're talking about. They're tied for the best winning percentage in the American League, tied for the second best winning percentage in baseball with the Cubs and the Astros. The first place Toronto Blue Jays, baby.
I mean, if you told me that they'd be first place near the All-Star break in the division, let alone the American League, before the season started, I'd probably laugh in your face and say, all right, let's get real. But
I said, I went on my friend's podcast in the offseason, and we had this, we made this, board, right? We built, mock off seasons based on, all right, contract values. I went in the baseball trade values thing, and I, just framework stuff. I didn't do exact stuff, obviously. And I said, this would make the team so much better than 2024, but if all the stars align correctly, they're an 87-win team. They might win 87 games, well before the playoffs start, which is kind of crazy to think about. They are closer to being a 95-win team right now than they are an 80-win team, which is kind of crazy to think about. I did not think that this team was going to be nearly as good. And I think it's actually pretty easy, as someone who's seen this team over the last however many years, this core specifically over the last, let's say, 5 years, I think it's pretty easy to pinpoint why they've been so much better. Their offense has been one of the best in baseball since the start of May, and here's the reason, right? Obviously, they're not a power hitting team. They're a mid-tier in home runs, ISO, all that stuff, somewhere between 15 and 20. But the thing is, they're obviously a big contact team. But the thing was that last year, they were not making good contact, right? There was making contact, right, and there was making good contact. Their hard hit rate is up almost 5% from last year. They are hitting the ball a lot harder. I think that I wrote an article on this, pretty much going into why George Springer has been so much better. I think he encapsulates why this team's offense is so much better than it was last year. Springer is being a lot more selective with what he's swinging at. He's not scared to whiff if he needs to, right? Listen, if I swing at that slider low and away, some of the most likely outcomes, I swing and I miss, or I hit a weak chopper and it just turns into an out, right? If I swing and miss, okay, it's 0-1, it's 1-1, it's whatever it is, I get another pitch, right? But they're making a lot better contact than they were. And that has allowed them to succeed in this sort of, all right, pass the baton, keep the line going sort of approach, right?
It reminds me of the 2015 Royals, honestly.
It does,
in that sense.
It does, yeah.
And we knew that. We unfortunately know that team too well.
I wish I didn't. I hope that guy in Game 6, I hope something... We all know who it is.
Yeah, we're not going to be throwing out threats on our very first episode. We'll probably save that for number 2 or 3. But
that was a ground rule double. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, you can succeed a lot more at this keep the line moving, pass the baton approach when the actual contact you're making is just better, right? When you're hitting a lot more line drives, when you're hitting the ball a lot harder, you can actually rely on that approach a little bit more. Whereas if you're hitting a bunch of weak choppers and a bunch of weak ground balls and just generally not hitting the ball very hard, it's a lot harder to rely on that approach. That's why they were such a bad offensive team last year and a mid-tier offensive team in 2023, even when they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
This team, if they're going to do anything at the deadline, okay, there's one thing I think they really need to do at the deadline. They need to get starting pitching. Their rotation is kind of okay. you are probably looking at who starts in a game one right now. Probably Barrios, I would imagine, right?
I
Um,
would probably have to
and
agree.
then game
And
two is
yeah,
probably like Bassett, and then it's like Gosman or whoever else, right?
Scherzer maybe.
Yeah. So the thing with their rotation right now is, number one, Max Scherzer is an old man. He is Unk. He's exceeded Unk status.
Yes.
He's Gramps. He hasn't been super great this year, albeit there was the thumb thing and he came back from the injury, but I also don't really expect that he's going to be ridiculous in the second half because with all due respect, he's 40. Um, they also
And also,
have
that's the thing. If you want him good for the playoffs, again, sorry for interrupting, but if you want him good for the playoffs, you're gonna also want to hopefully get another starter to manage his load and have him, also not have him pitch like have to pitch 7 innings a game
mhm.
down the stretch.
Because the thing with this team is like I also think they could use some bullpen upgrades as well. I don't think they're in dire need of bullpen help, but let's say they make one starting pitching upgrade. Let's say they go and get I don't know. Let's say they go and get Merrill Kelly. That's obviously a big upgrade to their rotation, but they still have enough guys where it's like, okay, if this guy doesn't go far enough, because we've seen Max Scherzer have some not super terrific starts. We've seen some rocky starts here and there from Gosman at this stage in his career that maybe you have to go to a bullpen early. I If they had to do that regularly in a playoff series, I would be a little concerned. Um, I would probably prioritize starting pitching for them. I don't think they're in as dire need for bullpen help as they are for starting pitching. I am calling all the starting pitching phones right now. If I'm Toronto, I'm calling about Merrill Kelly.
Yeah,
I'm calling about Seth Lugo. Merrill Kelly has been like my
and
top
yeah,
target for this team for like months. Like I've ever since they really started going on the run. And it's like okay, they're like actually
yeah,
good right now. I've been like okay, you need starters. Go, you need Merrill Kelly. They not need him specifically, but like that's been my top
a
target
guy
for them.
like him.
Yes, that's been like my top target. I've seen a lot of people predicting Seth Lugo to Toronto, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, if you want to come here, get over here, get in this
Exactly,
rotation, man."
exactly. And another thing with how good Eric Lauer's been, pushing
Yup,
him to the bullpen could do wonders.
yup. There's an interesting thing to think about is Eric Lauer obviously has been really good in the rotation, and I think given whatever happens by the time the playoffs roll around, I don't think he would start a playoff game, but you could
No.
always run if you felt like you wanted to. You could run a 6-man for the remainder of the rotation, or you push someone into the bullpen. If you push someone into the bullpen, if it's me, it's probably one of Lauer or Scherzer at this point, because none of
Yeah.
the other three are going to the bullpen. Respectfully, you're not putting Bassett or
You're
Barrios
telling
in
me
the
you don't
bullpen.
want Brios as the setup man?
Man, get out of here, man. But you're probably looking at one of those two going to the pen. I'd probably lean Scherzer, just because I think how good Eric Lauer has been in the rotation. I think that's a really valuable thing.
Yeah.
Just a good starter is better than or a more valuable than just a good reliever. It's just kind of that simple. Um, that's kind of the thing. There is also how how much do you expect that Eric Lauer is going to keep it going? Now, it is not like if you look at his peripherals, this is not something random where it's like he's walking a lot of guys, he's not striking anyone out, and he's still getting good results, right? He is actually getting a decent amount of strikeouts. His strikeout percentage is in the 81st percentile, and his walk percentage is in the 75th percentile. So both of those figures are really, really good. His fastball and his breaking ball have been pretty good for him this year. The contact when it's get made, they've hit it a little hard, but overall it's pretty good. Even his expected ERA is only 3.06, which is still pretty good. But obviously, you're thinking in the back of the head. I think they signed him to the minor league deal in the offseason, and I remember my friend told me, and I was like, why are you talking to me about Eric Lauer, man? And then obviously he does this, right? I'm glad I was wrong. I'm really happy I was wrong on that. I'm really happy to see Eric Lauer doing really well, especially for us.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
yeah, if you had like Barrios, Gosman, Bassett, Lauer, and let's say Merrill Kelly or Lugo or whoever the hell else, right? You have one of them. I feel so much better about that kind of rotation than
Yeah.
a 40-year-old thumb issue Max Scherzer starting every 5 days. Um, and again, like you said, keeping fresh for the playoffs, he could be out of the bullpen here and there. He's come out of the bullpen in the playoffs before, even when he was in his prime. He had a few times in the Nationals. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
he came out. Hasn't always ended well. I remember. I think there was one. I think it was against the Cubs in like 2017. I think he got kind of shelled, but I think he's had other ones where it kind of ended a little bit better than that. But it can work. That's what I would target for them if I'm Toronto. There also could be like if they want to go out and get a power bat, because listen, home runs or power in general, not just home runs, doubles, homers, really those type of things is a much more, you can rely on it a little bit more than the move the line approach, albeit they are doing the move the line pass the baton approach a lot better than they have been, and it's given their process, it's pretty safe to say that it's becoming a more reliable thing for them. But a power bat wouldn't hurt, right? The only thing
There's one guy I'm looking at in particular.
And who's your guy?
Kyle Stowers.
Kyle Stowers? That would be crazy. But
because
that haul would be huge.
Right now we need outfield help. Obviously Varsho should be back, but he's got a bit of an injury history. Who knows what on earth is going on with Santander? I mean, he's not even swinging a bat yet.
So there's some people saying that he might not even play like the rest of the season. So
yeah, and unfortunately that means I'm not going to be tweeting ever again. So
yeah, you're never tweeting. You'll retweet this, but that ain't a tweet.
For those unaware, on my Twitter, May 28th, I tweet out saying not tweeting until Santander has an OPS of 600, and he got hurt shortly after. But it has been brought to my attention that the day that I tweeted out was a couple hours before Bo Bichette hit that home run against the Rangers. So maybe it's a good thing I don't tweet, because that's when kind of things turned around for the Jays. I'm not saying I'm the reason by any means, but I'm saying maybe me shutting up is good for the team. So
maybe, man. Like you said, Kyle Stowers could be a thing. The only thing is, obviously, he's like 1 year of service time. Like that package is going to be ridiculous.
That's not going to be a cheap addition.
That's going to be that's going to cost you everything. If I'm the Marlins, I'm not even really thinking about trading him. I'll be totally for real right now.
I agree, but that's just a fun name I thought I'd throw on because I haven't mentioned him yet. And it's trade deadline.
It's a fun to think about thing, right?
What's the point about talking about the trade deadline if you're not going to throw out some guys that probably won't get traded? I mean, there's a guy that I want to talk about that has gotten interest that's probably not getting traded, but to the point where it's not worth talking about. But I've heard O'Neill Cruz's name, like teams are interested in that. But
I heard that a few days ago. I can't remember where I saw that, but yeah, you're right. I have seen that. That'd be an interesting
It's always fun to throw out some names and hope they stick.
That'd be an interesting one, too. We can do the Lakers fan thing where we Photoshop everyone in our jerseys, and then when they don't actually come, it's like, oh, wait.
All right, well, let me just go back into my gallery and pick another superstar.
Yeah, let me pick another superstar to put in this uniform. Yeah, that'd be a fun one. We actually mentioned someone earlier. Ramon Laureano would be a really fun one. I think he would be a good addition.
Oh, I mean, the Orioles in general, I've heard from multiple different people that the Blue Jays are trying to get it done with the Orioles for relief pitcher package, was what I heard was Sir Anthony and Soto. Apparently, the Blue Jays mean business, and if they don't think they're going to get a good, if they don't like the package, they're going to move on. They're not even going to waste time, and apparently to expedite the trade, apparently we're focusing on Soto, I think, to try to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously some time before the deadline, but if you could package one of Soto or Sir Anthony and get Ramon Laureano, I think that would be an incredible trade.
Mm.
Obviously depending on what you give up, but the return would be nice.
Jim, I apologize, I don't know how to say his last name. I don't know if it's Bowden, like Bowden Francis, or Jim Bowden. I think it's Bowden, because whatever. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, sir, but he was on Foul Territory. That's Ken Rosenthal's thing. And he was on there saying, they're willing to, go all the way at the deadline for whoever that would be. I wouldn't trade a top prospect for Ramon, obviously, because he's expiring, but, that would be big, especially, the Orioles, like you said, they got guys. They got Sir Anthony. I don't think they would...
But obviously, within division, they're probably going to want to jack up the price a bit, too, so I wouldn't... I wouldn't get too crazy with Baltimore. I wouldn't be throwing out like some crazy names,
Hmm.
which is why I'd say a guy like Felix is just out of the question for us in particular, let
Hmm.
alone the average team.
Hmm.
So I'd go for a guy like Sir Anthony and or Soto and then Loriano because rentals, and if we're offering the best thing, they're not going to just say no. So
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. I, yeah, it would probably be, and I'll feel bad if Toronto went and did something. I don't really think infield really like it would be really weird if you did an infield thing. You could, like, let's say they went and they got. I'll just throw Suarez out there because he's the top one available. I don't think Toronto's really calling
I
too
feel
much
like
about him.
Suarez is an exception though. Like if you're
That is
getting a
true.
bat like him, that's amazing. I wouldn't go get a third baseman or just an infielder in general just because. It would have to be a significant upgrade. It
Yeah,
can't just be like
because you would have to move guys
throwing all your eggs.
around. You're
Exactly.
obviously having Bo at shortstop. You're probably looking at more of a platoon between Clement and then when Jimenez comes back, him as well. You're probably looking at
Yeah.
Barger playing the outfield a lot more, sticking him in probably right field. Obviously Varsho and Lucas and whoever, right? That's probably what you would look at more. Although they could be, if they want to do that, move Barger to right for the rest of the season, they could definitely do that.
Yeah.
It's not like his arm isn't valuable in right field, but yeah, I think
Oh,
like some.
I think it's, I think his arm's pretty good. Obviously,
Yeah, you can say that.
just a bit, just a bit.
He's got a little bit of a gun there. I
Yeah.
think that's all that's worth talking about with them.
Yeah.
Before we move on to something else, do you want to talk about any of the fun sellers that maybe we haven't talked about as much? I know there was one you said
Uh,
we want to talk about a little
the
bit.
Braves is who I
Yup.
wanted to touch on a little.
They got guys, man. Obviously, coming in the
They
season,
do.
we all thought that they were gonna be a lot better, and they just simply haven't been. They are open to trading their pending free agents, i.e.,
Ozuna's a name I've
Marcel
seen. Yeah,
Ozuna and
I've
Raisel
seen.
Iglesias. Um,
I actually saw the pod. I'm gonna try to find the report while you speak, but I did see something about the Padres
mm-hmm.
with
Okay.
Ozuna.
Okay. Okay.
It was
But yeah, like Ozuna's a guy who could go
yeah.
into any lineup, and he would help fortify it. He pretty solid plate discipline there. He has solid power. You've seen it in the past. We've seen in the past he's like mash before. Raisel Iglesias I think can help out any bullpen. Um, the Braves as well. They have some other guys that maybe might fly a little bit more under the radar, right? I know that earlier you mentioned Pierce Johnson. He's been really good this year. That could be a potential guy that ends up getting moved. Contender tries to get him for the bullpen, and then boom. Aaron Bummer hasn't been spectacular, but for a team that might need a lefty, that could
As
be
depth. I
that could be
mean,
something
that's
that comes
yeah.
in as a depth option. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Deisbel Hernandez has been ridiculous this year. I don't know 100% if he would get moved because, I mean, he only came up in 2023, so I don't think the Braves would be rushing to trade him. But if a team came in and they offered a decent amount for him, that's something that
Yeah.
again would be worth thinking about. Dylan Lee isn't one that could be interesting. He's been really good for them this year. So if he gets some interest, they get offers, whatever. That's one that would definitely be an interesting one. Those are some of my favorite ones to think about. I think they have a decent amount of bullpen arms that could definitely be moved. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I stand on Atlanta. They have a lot of bullpen arms to be moved. Obviously, they have Ozuna. That's the big bat on their team that I think could be moved. People were talking about as well. I don't know if this would happen in the offseason, but potentially like an Ozzy Albies type of thing. Obviously, he struggled a
Yeah.
little bit more this year. His OPS sitting at just 622 compared
I
to
definitely think that's more of an off-season thing, but I
yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if teams are inquiring about him in the next week or so.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've also heard for some teams that have been looking for catcher stuff.
Sean
Sean
Murphy, I heard a
Murphy.
lot about.
Sean
Yeah.
Murphy. I've heard him in connection with some other teams too. I don't know if they would. Obviously, they have him on that big extension, but it would be interesting to see if he got moved now or off season or something, if they even decided to move him at all. But yeah, that's what I think is interesting about the Braves. They have some names that could obviously get moved around. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Arizona. They kind of feel like that team that's going to run, maybe not run the deadline, but the deadline is going to be decided ultimately by what they do. They kind of feel like
Yeah.
that year where the Royals had everyone, where they had like was it 2017, where they were getting rumored to trade Lorenzo Cain and Hosmer, and then they like almost didn't trade anybody, and then like they almost all walked. Except it sounds like they're going to trade their guys. That is most of, I think, what's worth talking about there. Unless you have anything else you want to talk about in regards to like a specific team.
No, I think we touched on
Mm-hmm.
pretty much everything that
Right.
we needed to.
All right. So, I am going to go through some of the top trade deadline like candidates, and we are going to pick one team above all else that this team or that this player would be really well for. So we're gonna pick a destination for each team, or for each for each trade candidate. So we're gonna start
Okay.
at the top. We're gonna say Suarez. We're gonna pick a destination for Suarez. Not necessarily where do we think he's gonna go, but where do we think he would fit best. So obviously we've mentioned there's a good amount of teams that could use someone like him. I think the Yankees fit like a lot for him. I think the Cubs fit really well.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good fit for the Cubs. I think he's a really good fit for the Yankees. I think he fits okay with the Mets, but I don't really think they need him quite as urgently. I think he
I'd say
fits good with
Yankees
the
or Mariners
Brewers.
personally.
And then, yeah, the Mariners as well. I would probably, out of these teams, I probably would lean. I'm gonna go the Cubs and just shore up that middle infield, or not that middle infield, just that infield. Shore up that bang you got right there.
I'm gonna go Yankees. I feel like there's just so much pressure on them to make a big move and really compete. I mean, there's always pressure with a team like the Yankees, and I think that they really need to do something, not only to just obviously to win the fan base over again, but mainly just to, solidify the team and add some more. But I mean, obviously defense is also something they'd want at third base. So if they don't go like the Key Brian Hayes route, I could definitely see Suarez being the best fit there.
It's not like Suarez is like a terrible defender.
No, not at all.
Like this year he's been a below average defender, but he's shown in the past that he can be a really good defensive player. But even so, if you trade for him, it's not like your defense is taking a super ridiculous hit. It's not like he's a minus 15
Yeah.
DRS player at any point. Really, he's never really been that bad. He's obviously been below average this year, but it's been a thing for them. So yeah, I think the Yankees would also. I think he fits a glove there. I also think they kind of paved the way to do something there. Like they're going to do something, whether it's him, McMahon, Hayes, whoever. Like with LeMahieu getting cut, they're going to do something. All right, our next name we are going to go to. We're going to stay with the Diamondbacks for this next player. We're going to go Merrill Kelly. We're going to pick a spot for him. So obviously we've talked about some teams that need starting pitching. Toronto, I think, could use a guy like him. Boston, I think, would be a really good fit for him. I think the Cubs as well could be something for him too. The Padres, Dodgers, Reds. I'm going to be biased here, but I think that I think Toronto would be a really good fit for him. I think Toronto that is their biggest spot where they can upgrade is starting pitching. I think that should be the first spot they look to upgrade. Would be something in there. You would not have to part with some ridiculous top prospect based package for him because he is an expiring deal. He's also 35. So let's say you didn't want to bring him back. It's whatever. If he's 35, you aren't theoretically losing out on a bunch of future value. But if you did want to bring him back, you could probably bring him back on a 2, maybe 3-year deal worth whatever. And maybe the last year of a 3-year deal wouldn't look so great. But the first year you'd probably feel good about. Second year, we'll see how it goes. Third year, maybe you don't look so great about. But I think he fits really well there. That's where I'm going to say for him right now.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with the Blue Jays front. I mean, I don't want to say too much about what other teams are going to, like, what teams are going to go after, because obviously, we're going to get to the player. But, yeah, I think the Blue Jays, and, yeah, I think that would be a very good fit.
All right, we're going to move away from we'll come back to the Diamondbacks, but we're going to go to Baltimore. We're going to go Ryan O'Hearn, probably not the best bat available in the deadline, because that's probably Suarez, but one of the best bats available right now.
Yeah.
I think any team looking at first base or DH slots can would benefit big time from Ryan O'Hearn. I think he especially fits well on the Red Sox. I think he fits really well on the Mariners. I think those are probably his best fits. And then, of course, I think maybe like the Giants are an outside shot team, but I don't like they wouldn't. I don't really see them as much, but I see them. I see the Red Sox and Mariners especially, and out of those ones, I will probably end up going with the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think that maybe a team like I don't know if it'll necessarily be a contender that may like I think it could be a team on the cusp that goes after him. I think it could be a team like I don't know, maybe Texas that could be a potential fit
Ooh,
or like
Texas would be interesting.
San Diego even.
San Diego, yeah, that's
Like
an interesting one too. Texas,
a team that's not necessarily, considered a legit contender, but a team that's trying to, scratch the surface
and push
and
themselves into that playoff
yeah,
spot that they maybe
yeah.
aren't quite in yet, or maybe aren't favored to be in there. Yeah, I could see that, especially since like Jake
And
Burger has
also
been,
Seattle I like.
yeah,
But
Jake Burger has been kind of underperforming this year. So
yeah.
performing a lot worse than what you'd expect. So obviously you can do something like that. And Jock, when he plays some first base too nowadays. He hasn't really been very good this year for them. They well,
No.
you know what they just did? They're starting to address it. Roddy Tellez has been there recently, so
That's a player. That's a
yeah, that
baseball
is a
player.
player. He's been there a little bit for them over the past week, so over the past
Yeah.
little bit. So you see how it is there. But so you're gonna say Texas, is that right?
If I have to pick one team, I will say Texas,
Okay, so
yeah.
you're gonna say Texas. I say Boston for Ryan O'Hearn. Um, Before we go back to the Diamondbacks and their guys, we didn't really talk much about Sandy Alcantara. Although I have another thing I want to talk about him later in the segment. If Mitch Keller gets traded, what is the team that we are seeing him go to? We mentioned all the teams that need starting pitching. I think that he could be a team that he could be good on a team that needs to shore up the middle to back into their rotation. I personally don't love Mitch Keller as a trade asset right now. I would not be super all over him if I was a front office, but I'm also not in a front office, so it's a little different, right? All the teams that we mentioned for starting pitching could be fun. We mentioned the Yankees could be there too. But you know a team that I think would be really fun to have Mitch Keller on? Mentioned a team that has a good front end, but they could shore up the back end of the rotation a little bit. It's in division. I'm doing some in division ones right now. I'm realizing that, but I'm going Cincinnati. I'm going Cincinnati for Mitch Keller, man. I don't know if they've actually been linked, but that just feels like a good fit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go, with a team that is linked to a lot of players like the Yankees, because I do think that just, it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Yankees have officially been linked, but I feel like that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if this team misses out on some of the bigger guys that they're looking at, I think it could be a good fit in Boston.
Yeah, he would also fit well in Boston. I was going to between a few teams. At the end, it kind of came down to the Yankees and Reds, but Red Sox would also be a really good team.
Yeah.
For him to fit on. They have a lot of guys around like a 4 ERA. The thing is with Mitch Keller, obviously he's getting paid a decent amount, and I don't love his peripherals, but at the same time, I am not an executive. That is the key thing here. A lot of these executives have access to a lot of data that we don't have access to, so maybe they see something in Mitch Keller that's a little bit better, right? If I was the Red Sox, I'd probably aim more towards like the Seth Lugo, Merrill Kelly types, as opposed to a Mitch Keller. But I do think that
there's something I want to say, but I'm going to wait until we talk about that player.
I was going to say, but the thing is with Mitch Keller is he does have a contract, he's getting paid, but that also means you have control, and control is a really, really valuable thing. I think a lot of the times people underestimate the value of control as well. Sometimes you'll see a player get traded and they'll have, let's say, 2-3 more years of control left on their contract or whatever, and they'll go for a little bit more than what people might have been expecting. And a lot of that is just because it's control, right? You don't have to worry about them walking in the off season or what have you, right? And that would probably be why I would imagine that Mitch Keller could get you with the okay return if you're the Pirates. So that's him. I am going to go. Who do I want to say next? We talked about him a little bit. We're going to stay in Pittsburgh before we go to another team. We're going to go David Bednar. My spot, I am going all in Detroit right now. If I'm thinking a David Bednar suitor, I'm thinking all in on Detroit right now. All in.
I would like him in Toronto for sure. And honestly, it's so hard to talk about a reliever and not just immediately go to the Phillies. I think that if the Phillies don't end up going for one of the top premier relievers, and by that I'm not saying like Bednar, I'm saying like Clase, Helsley, Bautista. I think that Bednar makes a lot of sense to stay in state there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that definitely that definitely works. They need bullpen. It's not really a secret. They struggled. They have some guys that have been okay for them, but obviously they need a little bit more than just some guys. We're gonna go back to Arizona really quick. Josh Naylor. I have my suitor for him. Obviously, I said Ryan O'Hearn for the Red Sox, so I'm gonna go Seattle for Josh Naylor right here.
You're talking about, I just feel like it makes so much sense for the Mariners, and we were talking about, them getting potentially a Suarez and O'Hearn package. That would be
Naylor package.
Really nice.
That would be ridiculous, because that's what I mean. I said it before when we were talking about Seattle more in depth, but this is like the things that everyone has been saying they need. They need corner infield, so obviously some of the best bats on the market right now are those positions. So I think it's gonna work. It hopefully for them it works really well in their favor. I think Naylor would just be a great fit. Like there, he hits for.
Yeah.
He's not like a slugger, but he hits for some decent power. Hits for good contact. He's just a really good offensive player all around. And then if you want, you can extend him in the offseason as well. He's not super old, so you don't have to really worry about that part.
Exactly.
But the other thing is, if you don't want to keep him around, you're probably not going to pay too much because he's a rental. Because you're going to have him for 2-3 months, whatever it is, depending on how far your playoff push is. So that's that. We'll do a few more here. Where are we thinking for... Who do I want to do right here? I'm going to go over to Washington. I'm going to say Kyle Finnegan. He's one of the better relievers on the market, one of the top lefties on the market. If my suitor for him, I think he fits really well with the Mets.
Yeah. I like that a lot for the Mets. We talked about them needing, some pitching depth there.
Mm-hmm. Especially a lefty reliever. AJ Minter's done for the season. I think, again, just like needing bullpen depth, I think he fits really well over there in New York. I think it's kind of... I think that one's a very clear-cut one. Not that he fits there over any other team, but I think that's just the type of player that fits really well with New York right now. It could be him. It could even be like a Gregory Soto that they go for. I think he also would fit really well with the Mets. But for Finnegan, for Kyle Finnegan, I'm going New York.
I really like that, and I want to agree with that. But also for not, if I want to say another team, I think we're talking about. For relief pitchers, I think that the Tigers wouldn't be a bad fit there, too.
That is true. Yep, he would also fit really well there. He would fit great over there. We are going to do a few more here. We talked about Raisel Iglesias. This is where I'm finally going to cave in and say the Phillies for one of the bullpen arms.
For Iglesias?
It's really easy to say. I'm doing so many in Division wins, and I'm not even realizing it until after I say it. But whatever. Who cares, right?
It just, if the fit's there, the fit's there,
Exactly. Listen, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not like it's a top tier profile player either. It's not like they're trading Acuna to the Phillies,
right?
But yeah, I think the fit is there. Obviously, the Phillies can use any bullpen arms they can right now, but I think that's a guy who fits really well over there. We're going to... This guy isn't necessarily on a selling team, but there's been a lot of rumors of him getting moved. We're going to go back to Boston really quick. We're going to say Jarren Duran. If he gets moved, which, again, is not a guarantee, if he were to get moved, what are some who's the suitor for them? I think
I yeah.
that personally, I think that it's probably now again. This isn't the only suitor we talked about. I know you talked about. I think you talked about the Dodgers potentially for an outfielder. I think even the Reds could use one depending on what happens. I don't know what the package would look like there, but
Yeah.
I think like San Diego's the very one that they've been discussing a lot for Jarren Duran. But I'm actually gonna go. Second time in a row mentioning this team. I'm saying the Phillies, man. They've been in on outfielders.
Yeah.
They've actually contacted the Guardians about Stephen Kwan. Apparently, them and the Padres are interested in him. So those two teams are clearly looking for some outfield help right now. I'm gonna say Jarren Duran. If he were to get moved, I'm gonna say the suitor is Philadelphia. I'm not saying that's where he will go.
I like that.
But
I do. I
think
mean,
I think it's an okay fit
yeah.
right there.
Another fit for Philadelphia. The only reason I'm saying it now is because we're probably just not gonna, bring him up as his own thing. But like a guy like Mullins too, that could work.
Yes, yeah, Cedric Mullins too.
But I definitely think that Durant, if he gets moved, it's going to be to either the Padres or the Phillies. I'm leaning towards more the Padres just because there's been a bit more smoke there.
That's true.
I also think one is if the Guardians decide to move on from Stephen Kwan, like I was mentioning, then that could be like their replacement for him right there.
Yeah, that is also.
They could potentially make a run at him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if they decide to trade Kwan, maybe do like a 3-team thing or get some kind of do what they did in the offseason.
Maybe just in the off season, we'll make the trade for Duran rather than now. But whatever. Yeah, I think that's a potential fit.
Kind of like what they did when they traded Andres Gimenez to us, where they got
they flipped Horwitz. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like that kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
They did not too long ago. Who says they can't do it again? I think unless you want to do another one or two, I'm gonna go. This is the last one probably. Unless you want to do another one, we're gonna go Dylan Cease. So obviously
that's the one I wanted to talk about.
That's another one where there isn't a guarantee that he's going to be moved. He very well might stay on the Padres. He might keep pitching for them. Obviously, he's really good. I am going to say that the suitor here, I'm going to flip back. We just talked about the Red Sox as, obviously, we're talking about Jarren Duran. Inherently, you talked about the Red Sox. For Dylan Cease, I am going to say Boston. I think I might have said Boston for another starter already. But
I mean, that fit is just so good.
I think it works really perfect, especially if it's like a Duran thing. I think you would probably end up doing Cease and then maybe something else just because Duran has a little bit of extra control versus Cease is expiring. I don't think it would just be a straight run for one, but
it makes so much sense. But my thing is, do you think Cease is a rental if Boston gets him?
That is an interesting... If I'm thinking from the Red Sox perspective, if I am sitting in that GM chair, if I'm Craig Breslow right now, I am not thinking that I want to trade Dylan Cease because I just want him for this upcoming run. I'm probably going to want to try and bring him back, right?
Especially Duran is the guy that you're trading out with.
Exactly, because here's the thing, right? I think if you did trade Duran if it was a Duran for Cease type of thing, I think you would probably end up getting some other stuff back with Cease because of two reasons. Number one, he's the expiring. That's the very big reason. And number two is that he is kind of having a bit of a down year. Now, a lot of peripherals suggest that he's doing fine. He's maybe just some bad luck in there or whatever, right? Like, his expected ERA is still 48, almost over a full run lower than his actual ERA. He's going to be fine. I don't think he's going to be a 4.5 ERA pitcher for the rest of the year or the rest of his career or whatever. And if you did extend him, he's not even 30. He's 29 right now. He doesn't turn
and
30 until, just before the new year. So,
all I'm going to say... Boston did clear out some money this season. They did.
I really hope it doesn't because I don't want to have to face Dylan Cease regularly, but unfortunately the fit's too good. I said that and I realized I actually forgot a really major starting pitcher actually. So this, unless you want to do another one, this will be the last one. Seth Lugo. We did. I don't think we already did him. I don't think we did, but
I don't know. Not on his own.
Okay, so
we did Keller.
Yeah, we did Keller. We did Kelly. Okay. So, Seth Lugo. So we've mentioned all the teams that need starting pitchers. I think a team that really would work really well for Seth Lugo. Obviously, again, we mentioned all the starting pitcher teams: Toronto, Boston, Chicago. Even the Yankees could, right? I think a team that could do some Seth Lugo action. I'm trying to decide which team I want to say here because there's a few I think would be fun. I think the Reds would be really fun. I think again, I think he fits well in the Cubs. I think the Padres, especially if they trade Dylan Cease, I think he fits really well there. I am going to say we are doing a reunion here. I'm going to say we're going back to San Diego with Seth Lugo.
Ooh. Uh, honestly, I gotta just say the Blue Jays here.
I respect it.
Obviously, Jays looking for starting pitching. His pitch mix is, I would say, he throws everything short of a knuckleball. So definitely some options there when he's on the mound of what to throw,
I
and
respect that.
I think that with a good pitch caller and good enough pitching coach, I think that definitely his success is sustainable for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I like that fit a lot.
No, I can't say I blame you. I can't say I blame you. All right, we're gonna do another little segment really quick. So I think we're done mostly talking about like, all right, this guy fits on this team. Out of all the guys that you've seen rumored potentially being traded, potentially being on the move, whatever, right? Who is the biggest sleeper candidate, right? Not sleeper to be traded, right? But like out of all the guys, who are you thinking, oh, people are sleeping on this guy. This guy's gonna go make a big impact, but maybe he's not being talked about as such. What's one guy for you? Or if you pointed to two or three, you can do that too.
I That's a tough one on the spot, honestly. Um, I don't know. I mean, underrated, like a guy who's probably a bit under the radar. I do think Ramon Laureano will probably be that guy for me. I think that he's shown a lot of pop in his bat. He's shown that he can hit well still. And I think for a team that's looking for a guy who can play that outfield position or DH when needed and just have like just that bat, just having that guy that can do it, that's not going to cost a team, their top prospects. I think he's going to make a good impression on whatever team he goes to in the second half of the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was thinking
Crushing
about him.
righties.
I was thinking about him. I'm going to actually go back to Arizona. Now, I think that this guy has mostly been overshadowed by some of the other guys that are on this team being talked about. I don't really think that as much as people don't think he's that great or whatever. I haven't seen as many people mention Shelby Miller in like a super impact role
Ooh.
type. We talked about you were talking about Shelby Miller earlier as a fit for I can't remember what team it was, but Shelby Miller has been ridiculous out of the bullpen this year. He's kind of found himself again, right? Because like last year he wasn't too great, but then with the Dodgers before that he was good, and then it's been an up and down career for him. Obviously he was a starter way back when. He's found his way back to Arizona after a few years, but he has been lights out. He's getting a good amount of strikeouts, striking out damn near 10 batters per 9 innings. Sub 1 home runs per 9 and 272 walks per 9, accumulating to a 312 FIP, which is really good. Even though it's a good bit higher than his ERA, that's still a really good mark to be at. He's sitting at a 198 ERA. This guy has really good stuff. He is 97th percentile in chase rate, 86th percentile in whiff rate. Gets a bunch of he gets a bunch of strikeouts. He also manages contact pretty well. He is in the 74th percentile in barrel rate and 71st percentile in hard hit rate. So even when he gets hit, he's not really getting hit that hard.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot.
I think whatever team he goes to that's looking for bullpen help, whether it's Detroit or New York or whoever else. I don't really know who he's been connected to. I haven't really seen his name pop up that many times. But I think whatever team he ends up going to, assuming they move him, I don't see why he wouldn't because he's expiring, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever team he ends up going to, he's going to be a big impact arm down in the bullpen over there.
Yeah.
Wherever that would be.
I agree.
All right.
That's going to be a fun one.
Now, again, we're going to say sort of same route, but we're going to go on the opposite end now. Out of all the big-time trade candidates you've seen, this guy's getting rumored to get traded, this guy's drawing interest. Who is one that you are staying away from, that you are not buying any stock in? You're taking the stock out. I got my guy.
It's going to be a guy we haven't talked about yet.
I have a feeling.
But it's a guy whose name has been out there on trades for the past 3 years or so.
I have a feeling we're talking about the same guy.
All right, what tier, what division? Let's
NL West.
do that.
NL West.
Okay, but it's not the same
Okay, it's
guy.
not the same guy.
This
Okay.
is not. No, so this is a guy who his name's been out there, and obviously shown flashes of being a very good baseball player. But for what the package that's rumored like that this team is asking for, that the projected trades are, I just don't think it makes sense for a team to go after. And that's Luis Robert.
Luis Robert. You know what? That's another one that I was thinking about too. I was thinking about him. Mine is Zach Gallen. I am not
Yeah,
buying any stock in Zach Gallen right now. If he had another year on his contract, I could see like you trade a low tier prospect and it's like sort of it's like a prove it deal, but it's like a trade thing. I could see that in the offseason, but given how like here's the thing, right? It's not like a Dylan Cease thing where his peripherals look really good. He just happens to have a higher ERA, and you're like, yeah, he'll be fine. Zach Gallen, obviously, we've seen him be ridiculous in the past. He does not get guys.
he gets hit
He
hard.
does not get guys to chase. He walks a decent amount of guys. He doesn't walk like everyone he faces, but he's in the 39th percentile in walk rate. He doesn't really get guys to chase very often or with. And like you said, when he gets hit hard. He's in the 8th percentile in average exit velocity and the 7th percentile in barrel rate. So they are mashing him. They're mashing him, and they're hitting it in the air a decent bit against too. He's around like middle of the pack in terms of ground ball rate. So
Yeah, and I'm seeing he has an expected slugging of 498
yeah,
against. That's
those are not things
that
that
scares me a
make
lot.
me like he's been rumored so many times around all the teams that need starters. If I'm trying to shore up my rotation or if I need a front and arm, I am looking in every other direction. I'm not looking at Zach Gallen. Like this
I'm
guy,
looking at Merrill Kelly way before him on that
I'm
team.
he
So
exactly. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Lugo. I'm looking at so many guys before Zach
I'm looking
Gallen.
at Keller too.
Yeah, I would look at I don't really love his contract, but I would absolutely look at Mitch Keller before I look at Zach Gallen given this because he's getting barreled right now. Even like you said, his expected slugging is 498. That's like the slugging of a lot of all stars. Like that, like depending on how good you are at everything else, that slugging percentage can get you into the All-Star game. Like just think about that for a second. And that's what people are doing against him on average. That's kind of crazy. He has an expected WOBA of 356. His expected WOBA on contact is 427. That's ridiculous. That's like Juan Soto.
Yeah,
Players on average are Juan Soto against him. And the big thing is with him, right? Like his curveball is also getting matched. Last year he had a plus 15 run value on his curveball according to Statcast. It's now -4. People are just hammering this guy. So
yeah.
if I'm a contending team, I want starting pitching. I'm not going for Zach Gallen right now. I
No.
might do it in the offseason on like a 1-year prove it deal type of
Yeah,
thing. Like
that's a
risk.
thing.
I think that could work really well for a team depending on, if you're able to fix this or that. But in terms of right now, deadline, I'm not even sniffing the Zach
No,
Gallen
I
flowers.
100% agree because if I'm a team and I want Zach Allen on my team, I want him to have the whole, working out with the team at the facility before spring training and have the whole spring to kind of figure it out with the new team rather than bring him in mid-season where he's struggling and just say, all right, try to change this, but there's just not enough time to get it done.
Exactly. And actually, I want to mention someone who's in that similar fold. This one I don't think is quite as like I wouldn't stay away from him quite as much as Zach Gallen. I would be a lot more like steering away from Zach Gallen. I think that we've heard Sandy Alcantara be thrown on the trade block a million times, right?
Yeah.
I think that he's a little more like fixable than Zach Gallen because I'm pretty sure really what it is
Yes.
is command issues. This is a guy I would not go for at the deadline. However, in the offseason, if I'm a team, I can buy low on him. That's what I would do there.
I agree with that too. I mean,
I'm just mentioning him here because we haven't really talked about him much, and he's a big name that's been mentioned.
Yeah.
But I think him and Zach Gallen are like in the same, in the exact same camp for me.
I think a team that'll take a run at him in the offseason will be the Mets.
Ooh, that would be an interesting one. That'd be a fun one to do. All right. So that's our guys to stay away from. We have our sleeper candidates, we have our buyers, we have our sellers, we have the interesting guys. Let's do some thinking back a little bit. You can go back however far you want. What was the I'm going to exclude the 2015 trade deadline because I know that's the obvious answer for this question I'm about to ask. What has been like a trade that's happened at the deadline that has just had you like, oh my god, like goddamn, like wait, like what's even going on right now?
For the Blue Jays or in
Not
general?
just Toronto. I just mean in general. Because I know if I didn't say that, you would have said that. You would have said
Well, yeah.
I know you would have said
Well,
that. I don't blame you because it's a good answer. But like outside of those,
I
because those are the
mean,
obvious answers for us. But like outside of that,
yeah.
what are those trades where you've been like, it's happened at the deadline? It's been like, whoa, like what the hell is even happening? It can be in a good way, like oh my god, this team's really going for it, or is in like a what the hell is this team doing?
Do you have one in mind?
I have a few. I have a few in mind.
I want
Number
to hear your first, just for the sole reason that I kind of want to think about it for a second.
I have three that I'm thinking about here. Number one was the Trey Turner Max Scherzer one for two reasons. Number one, I really didn't see that coming when it happened. Obviously, you heard Scherzer getting thrown around a little bit. I wasn't expecting Trey Turner to get them moved, and I also wasn't expecting them to get packaged together. The other one is another Nationals one, Juan Soto, because he had like 2.5 years left to control at that point. I was like, yeah, they're not moving
Yeah.
with this deadline for all the, and then they did it, and they low key won the trade. They low key won the trade. The other one, this goes in the other direction, was when the I mentioned this earlier, when the Angels tried to buy in 2023, and they tried to, you remember when they traded for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, and they traded Edgar Cuero, who was like one of the higher ranked prospects in their organization, and then Lucas Giolito was not only terrible, both of those guys walked in the offseason, and then Ronaldo Lopez was really good with the Braves, and then Shohei just walked, and so they just traded a top prospect in their org for just nothing.
Yeah. I actually do have one in mind now for what I would say.
What are you saying?
The 2021 Atlanta Braves deadline. That was something.
Ooh, that was Soler, and then who else was there? I remember Soler. Was
They
there.
got Soler, they got Duvall, they got
right,
Rosario, they got
Oh my god, I forgot they got Adam Duvall at that deadline. Oh my god. And Eddie was. Oh my god, I forgot about those.
it was Rosario, Soler, Duvall, and was Jock traded that season?
I think he was.
Oh no, because he was on the Cubs. I think this was like, I want to say it was about a month before the deadline. It wasn't a deadline trade. That was when Acuna went down.
He was having that like
when Acuna went down,
probably would have won MVP that year if he didn't get hurt. And then Peterson, with his pearls, bringing them into the postseason and just went on that run. That deadline was one of the best I can think of in recent history. They just got guys that literally, I mean, Soler literally, World Series MVP. He obviously
Rosario was the NLCS MVP. I mean, they got, and Duvall obviously was mashing. I mean, they really fixed that team with one deadline.
Man, that's a fun one, man. They did. Obviously, Soler had the big moment.
That was a fun team.
He had that was obviously the big moment.
Over the train tracks.
Oh my god! I still think about here and there. You still see that getting posted on Twitter. You see it on Instagram. Whatever.
That gif of just like the celebration with the pure emotion. I mean, that was electric.
That was electric. I remember watching that, man. I was like, oh my god, that was crazy too, because they were not favored in like almost any of those playoff series, because they went in as like an 87 win team. Like they lost more games than. I think Toronto won more games than I know. I think even Oakland won more games than both those teams.
We did win more, but obviously didn't make the playoff.
Yeah, obviously.
And honestly, that's another thing that makes me intrigued with like a lot of these teams that are on the cusp of contending, because it's like with a sport like baseball. I mean, any sport obviously, but with baseball, you don't need to win 120 games in order to win a World Series. You just need to make the playoffs and see what happens.
Exactly. It's literally just like who gets hot. A lot of the times it's more than just overall record, because you can see a team that like maybe got really hot in the second half. Like for last year, it was like, for example, I think if I'm remembering last season how it went correctly, the Mets had a really bad start to the season, and they were looking like, I think they were sub 500 after the first like 2.5 months, and then they were like a top 3 team in baseball the rest of the year, and then obviously they made the NLCS despite being like an 88 win team or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Tigers had a similar thing. Obviously they didn't. I don't think they didn't. They weren't 2 games short of a World Series. Obviously they didn't even make the CS, but same sort of thing where they just went nuclear second half of the year, and that's how they made the playoffs. But
that 2021 was an insane year. I mean, obviously you got the AL East with 4 teams winning over 90 games, but like that was the year the Giants won 107 games.
And they lost, dude. What's crazy is the thing.
They lost on a check swing call.
You know what's crazy is how much Mickey Mouse went into that team. Darren Ruff was like a guy. I don't like. Who you remember how good Darren Ruff was that year?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that is some Mickey Mouse right there. Because I'm pretty sure he came out the next year and he was bad.
yeah.
And obviously there was a bunch of guys. It's crazy to think about Buster Posey was playing on that team, considering he's now an exec.
I
It's
know.
kind of crazy to think about right now.
Yeah, another thing that's just funny though is the fact that like imagine being the Giants, you win 107 games, you're the best team in baseball, and what's your reward in your first playoff series? You're facing a team who won 106 games.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Obviously, it's just how it works out, and there's nothing you can do. It's just damn,
I
like
think
what are those? Like
debatably,
what's that
I
luck?
think debatably what's crazier about that whole scenario is that the Dodgers won 106 and they still didn't win their division. Like,
Yeah,
that's just
I
crazy
mean,
to think. That's ridiculous to think about. I think that's even crazier to think about than the Giants winning 107. Is that a 106
yeah,
team
I
was a
mean,
wild card team?
I'm looking at the standings right now. Imagine coming third place in the division and you're 28 games back.
That's insane, man.
I mean, obviously 79 wins is not good enough, but like it's just funny to think about that you're that far back. Because you
That's
look at any other division. Let's look at, I don't know. Let's look at the NL West. I mean, the A's 9 games back at third place. The NL Central 12 games back, 11 and a half, 8. Like you're seeing smaller numbers. 28 is absurd.
28 for third place is nuts. How far back were the who was last place that year? Was it Colorado? Was it
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks? How far back were they?
Do you want to take a guess before I
I'm
tell you?
going to say they were 40 games back.
55.
55.
That was the year they went 52 and 110.
I was gonna say 50, and then I was like, no, they weren't. No, there's no way they won like
Yeah.
110 games and then or lost.
The Rockies were
60.
74 and 87. Not the worst
Okay,
year from them.
Dick Monfort, I see you. Respectable. Well, for Rocky standards, that's respectable, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the stuff we have here. Is there any more deadline?
I mean,
Deadline related.
I think
stuff
we'll come back after the deadline. We'll see how we did with our predictions. We'll talk about the moves
Yeah,
and
we'll grade all the moves. That'll probably be what we do
and
next week.
we'll preview the second half and kind of give some a little too early postseason predictions possibly.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. So, I guess that'll be it. Thank you all for tuning in the first episode of the Downline podcast. I hope everyone enjoys all the drama surrounding the trade deadline. I hope everyone has a really fun next Thursday, getting all those notifications from Jeff Passan and Rosenthal and Josh and all those other guys. Right? That's gonna be a fun one. I hope I'm not working today because I will just stare at my phone the entire day, and I literally will. Like, I will literally just go through all my notifications and just be like, oh, wait, this guy's going to move, this guy's going to move, this guy's going to move. I love the deadline, man. It's always so fun to see everything that's happening, always to see who's going where and doing what. So that's always a really, really fun time of year. But we'll see you in a week. We'll see you right after the deadline. We'll do, when we have a look at all the moves that end up being made. We'll look at all the major ones. We aren't going to look at any minor league player swaps because they're bound to happen and those aren't really worth talking about. But we'll look at all the major moves that happen around the deadline next week. Ethan, it's been a good one today, brother.
Finally happy that we did this.
We've finally made it.
It's a long time coming.
Listen, we finally made it out of the group chat. We finally beat the allegations, man.
We did.
We finally beat the staying in the group chat allegations. So anyways, hope everyone has a good rest of their day, evening, whatever it is, whenever it is. Hope you guys have a good one. Take care. We'll see you guys next week.